Welcome to Go Live, where we're gonna be getting lit every day. Look at this panel. BG, you know you love the FTC. Don't chat. You know you love it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Go Live. It's sweltering hot in the UK, where me and Asa are sweating our balls off in these little studios where all these lights pointing in our faces for you. But we're not as sweating as hard as the FTC's lawyers have been this past week, as it's been interesting. It's going to be one of those kind of shows. We have two incredible gents making their return onto Go Live. But before we go hard into introducing these two legends, let me introduce Asa, another legend. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. So last week after the show, people don't know this because it happens after the show, we closed it off. We ran the outro trailer. We've got the new one of those today, by the way. But we ran the outro trailer and then we were sitting in the green room and Gaz said, I'm so bored of ABK talk. We're not talking about ABK anymore. So as you can imagine, I've been looking forward to this week so much. This is going to be such a good Go Live. We're not going to mention Activision Blizzard King. We're not going to mention the FTC or the CMA. There's no discussion about that. Gaz has never let me down before, so cannot wait. Let's get into it.
Yeah, about that. Well, I'm sorry, Asa. Today's the first time. It's, even you will admit, slightly unavoidable this time.
To be fair, I told you at the time, like, that's a nice idea, but actually we're just getting to the point where it's going to be unavoidable. So yeah, there's going to be some of that. If that's what you're here for, don't close the browser.
but we will talk games. Come on, man. This is a gaming show. There's a lot of gaming news as well as a result of all this malarkey, man. You guys gotta see the madness. But before we do that, let's introduce our panel. Yeah, it is Post Up and Faith in the chat. Oh, Coffee just kicked in.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's just go hard on this, boys. Who do I introduce? Post Up, come here, bro. No, you are the man. You are the man.
What's up?
Listen, this is your time to shine, bruv. You've been waiting for this. This is it. FTC week. It's DJ. What you said?
Look, we've been at this for over a year.
Yes.
Well, Microsoft been dealing with other regulatory bodies. I would have thought the FTC would have been doing their homework, doing their research, getting their resources together, and trying to build a case against why they feel this deal should be blocked. But that hasn't happened. They haven't been gathering resources. They haven't been doing any research. And they came into this case with the same premise that they did starting off, which is console SLC, exclusivity, and cloud. And in the last 2 days, they have gotten obliterated on all levels. And it's funny because it happened twice, right? If you go over to, and I'm going to explain, it happened twice, right? And I'm saying it in this context. First, it was NVIDIA, Sony, Google, right? The FTC and the CMA rolling against Microsoft. NVIDIA pulled up in Europe and say, look, me and Microsoft talked this out. Sony, we ain't rocking with you no more.
Yeah.
Google pulled up to the FTC case yesterday for the FTC and Sony side and laid a deposition that was in favor of Microsoft.
Yeah.
Right? So NVIDIA went with Microsoft, helped clear the cloud narrative. The guy they had on the stand with Google proved that cloud was not a separate market and that the Stadia was competing with PlayStation and Xbox. And he finally realized what he did and got quiet but it was too late. It was too late. And the Microsoft lawyer had already got him to say what he said, and the judge was like, "Yeah, we get your point. we get your point." But yeah, we're finna cook. It is a lot to talk about.
There is.
I know if people are tired of this topic, but I think right now with these, we're not going to get another opportunity like this to get this big of a window into the industry. You know what I'm saying? Which they pretty much lock us out of. And it's hard to get this type of information that we're getting. We're getting some concrete stuff in terms of the dealings that go on between Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo and things like that. So I'm ready, man. Whatever you want to start off with, let's go.
You were absolutely no. You kind of went in there, but we will talk about that, chat. We'll bring that in near the end, and then
My
we'll
bad, I kind of went in already.
No, it's good.
I'm just ready to go. You know,
don't worry.
My man said,
I
introduce yourself. Post was like, nah, we getting to these topics.
I'm gonna just post up. That's on G State Game. My bad. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's just I'm ready to cook.
I was like, how you doing, post up? Well, the FTC's fine. Okay, well, that's a good start to the show.
I just realized. I'm gonna do my mic. Go ahead and do your thing, man.
That's all good. It's all good. Well, Fame, shout out to you, brother. Welcome. It is your second time here on Go Live. It's good to have you on, man. How you doing,
man,
bro?
I listen. I appreciate the invite because a lot of people don't want Fame in their shows. I don't know why. I just like to crack that make folks laugh. But I just want to be as confident as this man here, knowing that that things are going to be all right in life. And I had to smile when you DM me, like, "Oh, I'm going back." All right, cool. I look that confident. And y'all take a picture. So when y'all say when Microsoft won the Activision Blizzard case, I was there. I was there. But shout out to you, man. I appreciate y'all with the invite. Post is good to be with you as always, man. But I'm looking forward to the show, man. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to my level 1 gaming family who was in the building. Shout out to Salt Mines, who was also in the chat. I see you, Salt Mines.
Salt Mines in chat.
One of the funniest dudes on YouTube, right?
His skits are incredible.
Dude, hilarious. When he did the last one, when he's with the pony mat, bro, go.
I saw that. That was mad. Oh man, the Salt Mines is wicked, man. He needs to make more content because he's too good to be sitting.
I was in a call with him earlier, telling him the same thing. Like, bro, like the streets is needing you, like weekly, daily. You know, we need that content.
Weekly, it's hard. I know it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah,
but yeah. Shout out to Salt Mines. Shout out to everyone. Shout out to the 350 people already into the chat. Hit that like button. Because we're gonna go hard. Before we do, we have to talk about games and what games the people have been playing. Asa, I caught your live stream. Sorry, I didn't realize you were. I live streamed at the same time as you, and you had this really cool Street Fighter background. You seem to have an affinity with the Street Fighter, which I find pretty interesting. I've
played it far less than I want to. I got an arcade stick, and it was a disaster.
Yeah.
I cannot use that thing for shit.
It's hard.
Like on a controller now, need to change some things up. I've not played as much of it as I like, but Street Fighter for me is it works brilliantly well at a terribly low level. Like I'm undefeated, by the way. If anybody's thinking like you've got a chance, you haven't. But it works really well at my terribly low level. If I'm being honest, I'm not very good at it. I've not played fighting games like that since Street Fighter 2. And it's all really nicely balanced and like easy to understand and get to grips with. But then you look at the high level play, and everything works so well there as well. That it's a masterclass in how to do a competitive game in that sense. So I'm having a lot of fun with Street Fighter. I've dabbled in a bit of the Ascent still, which is gorgeous. I'm still having a love-hate relationship with Diablo 4. There's a lot about that game to like.
Where's the hate?
I'm really not enjoying building my class in that relative to Diablo 3. I played Diablo 3 fairly recently. I was playing it with my family, and we'd have all these conversations. They're like, "Oh, what skill should I use for my barbarian or whatever?" And the answer is like, do the one that sounds fun, use it and see if you like it, and if you don't like it, switch to a different one. And Diablo 4, I'm not far enough to have exposed all of the mechanics, so it could change, but for me it feels very much pigeonholed into a spec that the developers have designed for you. So I'm a sorcerer. It might be like maybe the other classes have a bit more flex, but if you pick a sorcerer, you're going to be either fire, lightning, or frost, and you kind of limit your skills quite drastically according to that choice. It doesn't have the runes anymore, so it just feels way more limited. and it's
What level are you?
It's open world, right? So I keep seeing. I saw a treasure goblin out in the world yesterday and killed it, and then like 3 seconds later it respawned, killed it, and then 3 seconds later it respawned, and you get the same thing with the events around the map, and it's like, oh, this doesn't feel as good as these games used to do. But it is gorgeous. The story and the voice acting and all the rest of it is a massive step up. So gonna persevere, but love hate.
What level
I'm
are
still
you
trying
on
to get to the end of Horizon Forbidden West. Sorry.
What level are you on Diablo?
I've only got as far as, this is when I say I haven't exposed all of the skills and things yet. I've only got as far as the first passive, the enhancements they call them. I've got the first one of those unlocked. So like between 20 and 30, I think, not that high.
Okay. You've got a fair bit to go. It might change on you.
That's what I mean. It might expose all kinds of mechanics and flexibility, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. All right, okay. What about you, Post Up? What have you been playing, bro? Or have you just been watching the FTC shit? Come on, bro.
They say, I don't play no games. I just play the courtroom. That's what they tell me.
That's what they always say.
I finally started on Hogwarts Legacy. I'm having a ball with that. I got to get back to it. The last thing I played though was the Final Fantasy 16 demo because I wanted to see what the hoopla about. I was doing more watching than playing. I think for the first 20 minutes, it was just you just having the controller in your hand. I mean, I pressed the start button and I thought I was about to get to it. The character started running and things start, tumbling down around you. You think you about to fight and you just go to another cutscene and you're sitting there for 10 to 15 minutes watching a cutscene, listening to this conversation. Then you start moving again and you think you're about to fight again.
Yep.
And you go into another cutscene and then you finally get to the training ground where you learn how to fight. That's cool. So you learn how to fight. And you think you're about to go fight now because you didn't learn how to fight, but you go to another cutscene, and then another cutscene, and then I got up to the part where I beat the boss, that little green fella thing with the arms and stuff like that. That big thing. And it's I didn't go back to it after that. I don't know what's going on, and I don't know if this is is it an accessibility feature? I don't know, but I think Street Fighter do it where you could all these games where you just need one button to do everything. Fight, special moves, dodge. It does everything for you. So you got these things where you're able to carry like three or four rings, and you're able to equip whatever ring. And so you got this one ring that you can wear, where if you equip it. When you're fighting, all you need to do is just sit there and press the square button. It'll dodge, it'll get out the way, it'll do defense, it'll do all that for you. What is this?
The way that which I assume is an accessibility mechanic, the way that's woven into the game menu, like actual UI there, I was confused. I was like,
me too.
I was like, this sound when you read the description of it, there's one that does auto evade for you. I'm like, that is OP. Why is this one of those? Because I only heard it on Twitter. If it was on Twitter, I'm like, this sounds like really overpowered. This must be an accessibility feature. But the game almost introduced it as like you equip these rings as your gear. So you've got your top three, and then the bottom three have the rings. So I'm like, I'm not gonna do that because I'm like, bruv, the game is hardly giving me much gameplay anyway. Why would I take away?
Exactly.
We'll talk about Final Fantasy in a bit. But so you've been playing the demos. So that's quite.
I'll check out the demo.
About that in the next topic anyway.
Okay, I want to get ahead. Go ahead.
We'll break it down because I've played it a little bit because the game won't let me play it.
Exactly. We're definitely going to talk about that too.
But some sincere conversations as well. But Fame, what have you been playing, brother?
Listen, man, these folks don't care about what I'm playing, but I'm gonna say anyway. I've been playing Diablo 4. I was actually running early with the homie Saltmines, Sorcerer gang. So Asa, about the Sorcerer. Really trying to make it work. It's for people who are new to it, let's say this is your first Diablo, right? You're thinking, oh, I'm just gonna put this gear on because it looks powerful. I'm gonna put this piece on. I'm just gonna click this ability because this, that, and other. you're not going to do anything. You're going to go in these dungeons and get murdered, right? Like viciously, right? You really got to look at what you're doing, to look at your passes and look at your abilities and say, okay, this works with this adds this get this much damage. So today, I really spent today like reworking my entire build for my sorcerer. And yeah, man, I'm Swiss cheesing. Like everything dies immediately. Swiss cheese sorcerer gang. I can't wait to play more of this game, man. It's really good. That's literally all I've been playing lately.
Did you play Diablo 3 a lot?
No, it's my first Diablo.
Okay.
I bought Diablo 3, right? Because I was like, Diablo 3 could be my first Diablo game. And then I just started playing everything else, and I never cared. Yeah. And then my homie Baron was playing Diablo 4, and I was like,
shout out, Baron.
Bro, yeah, and I was like, I'm getting FOMO. Like, I got the fear of missing out. I get it bad. So I was like, I would have spent $100 and played a couple days early. Now I'm hooked. Now I'm like, damn, this is the fourth game in the franchise. And like, I've missed all these other games I never played. Like, I've been missing out on a whole bunch, right? Because I never cared about it until 3, and like I said, I bought it, and I guess old man brain, I never played it. But Diablo 4 is dope, man. I'm really loving it. I don't know if I'll go back and play the other games, but it's legit, man. It's fun.
Yeah, a lot of people are playing Diablo for the first time as well in my circle of friends, and they're enjoying it. And I played 3 only last year, and 4 has been really good. But I've been juggling a lot of games as well, like a lot of older games as well. Playing Fallout 4, which was I played on PC briefly last gen and then stopped, and I restarted it again because Starfield has me so hyped, and I'm really enjoying Fallout. You can do so much in that, like it's crazy that game. But yeah, the next game, which is I've been trolling so hard on Twitter, is Final Fantasy 16. I came this morning. I was like, because I was going to be out with my girlfriend to watch the Spider-Man movie, which is, by the way, let's talk about that movie. Is amazing. I think it's better than the first one for me.
It is legit.
It is. No spoilers there, but it is so good. I saw
Spider-Man's black. Spoiler.
Well, Spider-Man's a lot of different things in this one. There's a lot of Spider-Man and women in that one, but so good. And BG shared on Twitter an article where some of the artists, and they were just complaining like the really bad work conditions, and BG says something crazy like, but I can understand that, because to produce this kind of quality something has to give, and I was like, that's a raw statement to make, BG. It doesn't necessarily have to abuse your staff to get good results. But then I watched the movie, I'm like, yeah, this movie was so comprehensively just beautiful. It didn't let up in its art style at all. I thought this is one of the best Spider-Man movies ever. So now both Miles Morales movies, Spider-Man movies, to me are the best Spider-Man movies ever made. Way more than the live action ones. I also watched Top Gun 2, by the way. I only watched Top Gun 1.
Activision Blizzard King, you prick.
This quick movie chat. Top Gun 2, yeah, is amazing. Like Top Gun 1, I watched like last month, and
for the first time.
For the first time, I watched it when I was a kid. Yeah, I watched it. But there's no, bro. That Top Gun 1 is like properly gay. As in, I'm just saying it's very homoerotic. Like if you watch it now, I don't know if you haven't watched it in a while, but I think the director was going for that. I read it somewhere where like that was the intention. Where the guy would stand in the showers like Val Kilmer, and he's like, oh, it's always like sweat. They're all sweaty, and they're all like beads of sweat coming down. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And me and my boys are watching it together. I gotta move my mic. Bro, it is, man. It is properly gay, bro. Like, I'm not saying like in a bad way. Like, that's what it is, bro. You go watch Top Gun 1. Tell me that it's not gay. It is. I think they were definitely doing some kind of sub-commentary. So I didn't expect that. I thought it was about jets. I was like, yo, what the fuck? Me and my boys watched it together. We're like, maybe we should switch something else, because it looks like 3 guys watching gay porn at the moment, and it looks a bit weird. But then I watched Top Gun 2, and it tries to do a bit of that. But, oh my God, it is better than this first one. because this, I don't know why I'm talking about this, but it's such a good movie. Chat, yeah, I know.
I did not expect that. I did not expect that.
But the second one is so good because they build up this like the mission structure in the first one. No one knows the fuck is going on in the first one. Like, but the second one they hyped up so the sounds were so good, visuals so good, soundtrack so good, man. So I got to watch 2 amazing movies and back to back. So that's in my mind. I've been playing that, and then I got to watch another movie, which was Final Fantasy 16 this morning. And bro, okay, listen, I was trolling, all right, but genuinely, like all the ponies came at me and say, "Oh, this guy's playing Final Fantasy for the first time." Listen, you dickhead! I've been playing Final Fantasy 8 when it came out. And there was not that much freaking cutscenes, bro. That I remember playing Final Fantasy and controlling Squall, and I wanted to see the CGI. I wanted to see the cutscenes because it was it was different. Like you'd see, obviously, you want to see Renoa in 3D goodness, compared to she was kind of tasty, but it wasn't. This was a very heavy. So that I've just completed I think basically the epilogue. I won't give too many spoilers. I think this was the same in the demo, but it was a good couple of hours. But there was barely any gameplay, and my impressions are the story looks incredible. Like there are some bits that really got me, but like I said last week, and this is me as an English person, I'm saying I don't like the English voice acting. It's really like, "Hi Bartholomew, what are you doing?" It's just like, and there's that little kid, what's his name, Arthur, whatever his name is, just like turns into something, and it's just like it's still talking in the little kid voice, and it's like I don't play Final Fantasy for that, man. Like I don't know, maybe I'll get over it because the main story is quite intriguing, very Game of Thrones almost vibes. There's a lot of, it's weird as well, they use the F word there, and I'll say fuck. I'm like, what? And then there's one scene the woman goes like, "You cock." I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is Final Fantasy? Or is this Game of Thrones? It's really weird. Asa, I'm so intrigued about your impressions of this game because I will say this. I was a proponent for the combat mode. I don't think it's a good idea because I think it's really poor. Based on my early game, I just not engrossed in it whatsoever. It's so simplistic. Triangle for magic, square for melee attack, right R2 and square when the cooldown goes down, some power attack. Evade doesn't feel all that great. If you evade on time, then it goes, parry mode. And and I'm just like, this would have been better turn-based. I did not expect to say that, by the way. And this is very early, like epilogue, and all that might change. But I didn't expect to be like, right, I would prefer this exact battle in turn-based would have probably made it more epic. You fight this cabbage thing in the swamp with loads of arms, and I'm like, just
it was super easy. It didn't really give no kind of,
and there's no accessibility options
in terms of
enabled.
It was really easy to beat. It was just
maybe I don't know.
Make Final Fantasy turn-based again.
I think
I love turn-based RPGs, and I loved when Final Fantasy was turn-based. I'm really hoping that this non-remake thing is real, because non is my favorite Final Fantasy game. But it just I don't know, man. I feel like that's more strategy involved, and maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm an old head. Call it what it is, but turn-based when it comes to Final Fantasy is the way to go. And I don't know, man. It just feels better to me.
I'm not really into Final Fantasy. I just tried it out just to see what the whoopla about. I don't like turn-based. I ain't really into RPGs, period. But my brother used to play them. I used to sit and watch him play them. But even the action, I didn't get what people was with the combat. Like, I didn't get the thrill that people was saying. Oh, this is incredible, Devil May Cry, this and that.
It's not Devil May Cry. This is not Devil May Cry. Not even close.
And then they talking about the game is 75% cutscenes. Like, that's pretty mature.
Bro, so who was that? Skillup who did a review and said it's like 75% cutscenes.
I was what? Like,
bro, I can believe it because I'm playing, and you know, partially I was me trolling on Twitter, but a lot of it, I'm like, bro, like I have not played in a while. Now I get it; they have to tell a story, but Final Fantasy VIII, what happens? You fight. What's his name? What's his name? The bad guy with a grey trench coat. Then you end up in the hospital. You still walk around there. You go to Balan. Then you go festival. Then there's like you find that electricity boss. There's hardly the pacing was good with the CGI with gameplay, whereas this was a whole bits where I just sat there for 15 minutes just. Yeah, and then it makes me run forward, and there's another cutscene. I'm like, well, what the fuck was the point of that? Like, I genuinely, I'm not out here to hate the game, but I think that I don't remember. What was the next one? Final Fantasy X. I played, Blitzball game, and that was.
Hey, like, listen. Blitzball needed its own separate. I got so many hours.
That was a very deep, actually.
So good, bro. So good.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. It's one I will play. I will play after the show's ended, because the story is actually quite intriguing. But Asa, are you going to buy it?
One day. So I always play the Final Fantasy games, right? I had really low expectations for this one based on most of the trailers. For me, the turn-based thing isn't make or break for a Final Fantasy game. It's not the move away from turn-based that was kind of the downfall of the series. I do consider that the series has had a fair downfall since the olden days. But when I play Final Fantasy VII Remake, absolutely I adore that game. I love playing that game. And it's partly like there's some nostalgia in there. I don't know if it's as good for people that weren't into 7 at the time, but it is executed so well. And the combat is how you bring a Final Fantasy game forwards. And then I look at the trailers of this one and I see bits that look like Panzer Dragoon and bits that look like Devil May Cry and bits that look like a pretty Primal Rage beat 'em up thing. And I'm like, what are you going for? But the music is going to be really good. And maybe the story will work out. Some of the trailers like sold the story quite well. So yes, I will play it. But from the outside, I've not touched the demo, so you can tell me this actually. You've been playing it quite a bit. The reports on the performance of the game are
is
a little bit concerning and make me think maybe I should just wait for the PC version. So which one are you playing it on? Are you playing it on its 30 frames mode or its 60-ish?
30 frames, because 60, it drops to 720p in combat. This game, by the way, ponies can come at me for saying this, it's not that good looking. Like, no, it's not next gen. It doesn't scream like your PlayStation exclusive.
But it's so polished that it didn't need a day one patch.
Let me press that. It's true. And that was one of those angles. Like, basically, they kept saying it went gold like 3 months ago, and they were like, it doesn't even need a day one patch. I'm like, why would you make that stupid statement? Then you release a demo out, and the game is 720p, Asa. 720p for a game that doesn't look that impressive. And there'll be bits later on. I'm sure there's some bits, but like the game for the most part looks like it could run on a PS4. And the performance in some of those Panzer Dragoon bits, way below 30. I was getting sub 30 on the big battles, like, and it was really janky, man. And it was not Panzer Dragoon Auto style good quality. The reticle it just didn't, there was no impact to it. It was just target, very rudimentary gameplay. Hit with a QTE with loads of time to hit the QTE. Here's a square, here's a circle, running down time, and you've got loads of time. And I'm like, you're taking, like, to facilitate these cinematic pieces, you're throwing at these very basic like mechanic gameplay sections, and I don't know if you'll like it, Asa. I'm very intrigued to see what you think.
So Final Fantasy 15 I didn't like, but I would still buy it for the soundtrack and like set pieces and spectacle. I really didn't like what they did with that, trying to make a Final Fantasy Ubisoft game as far as I was concerned. Didn't like the cast of characters, didn't like the opening with the car and pretty much everything that it did with its open world.
Yeah.
But it sounds so good and it has its moments that are worthwhile. So it's Final Fantasy is like a series that I can't skip, or I'll never skip one, because I adored Final Fantasy 7 and I've liked many Final Fantasy like games since. So I'm definitely going to get 16, but it's definitely coming to PC within like a year or so, and then I'll get all of these performance issues going. And I'm not saying that as like a massive dig on the PlayStation 5. I know people will take it that way, like PlayStation 5 is only doing 720p and 30 frames or whatever. But then you look back at Forspoken, and it's like the Luminous engine is bad. Square Enix have a bad engine on their hands, because that game also had terrible performance profiles for the visuals that it was putting out. So I'll just wait, I think.
I think that'd be the best option. The PC version would be the best. To think about that, you get all the beating their chest they was doing prior to this demo, the 4K 60, the performance, throwing shots, talking about, well, we're going to show you gameplay, we're not going to show you trailer. And then you get it, and none of what they were saying is the game is not meeting none of what they were saying. I mean, I'm not you. I guess the PlayStation community are used to games like that cinematic, where they go through all those cutscenes. I'm not. It was too many. Like the first 20 minutes,
like Metal Gear Solid, man. Like this is like bad. Yeah. Like this is like a very, very, which I don't mind. But then I would want the combat to be good, and the combat's not getting me there. Someone in chat's asking me if I've got past the prologue. And I'll play more of it, and all of that can change. All of my impressions can potentially change. But this game is sitting at an 88 Metacritic. Shout out to BG, by the way. Last week, we asked him his Metacritic prediction. I said 89. He said 88. Right on the money again. BG gets it.
BG been clutch a few times with the Metacritics.
BG, he's got the talent. He's got the Metacritic
credit where it's due.
talent.
I think you'll find I said yes, same as BG. So I'm also correct.
Hey, get that man his flowers.
Yeah, he deserves the flowers. He deserves his flowers for that. Final Fantasy 16 is a good RPG. For generally, the consensus is that it's great. It's a PlayStation this year, gets its exclusive. That does hit the right notes for a lot of people. I feel like very early on, but I feel like this is one of those Final Fantasy games that once beyond the Metacritic score settling, the Final Fantasy community itself will have some complaints, maybe, perhaps. I feel like
it
that's
feature Moogles.
What are those?
You have never finished a Final Fantasy game, have you?
What's a Moogle?
I don't know what a Moogle is.
Just know that I hate them. Chocobos, I hate them. No, Chocobos are another mainstay. Moogles, they usually run like the mail system or some shit like that. They're stupid little puffy things that float around and say Kupo in all their sentences, and I hate them so much. So if it hasn't got them, then it gets bonus points.
Did 7? Did 8 have Moogles? I don't remember.
I don't think 8 has them. Oh no, someone in chat says yes, there's Moogles in it. It can wait even longer.
Yeah. Like, the funny thing is, this might be the first Final Fantasy game I finished. Final Fantasy 8, I'm on disc 3. And I thought that would be the first Final Fantasy game I played. Final Fantasy 15, I got a decent amount in the driving bit, but I just couldn't control these boy band characters. I just didn't vibe with them. And now these English characters.
Ban Shab's Inevitable for that super chat. Ban him completely. It's Isla's birthday, by the way, so happy birthday. Kupo is what the Moogles say.
Happy birthday, Isla, by the way. Shout out to Isla, the moderator in chat who keeps it legit. Shout out to her. What's a Kupo? What is a Kupo?
Kupo is what the Moogles say.
That's what they say.
Oh, Kupo. Yeah. I don't remember this. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, thematically, it's weird. It's almost going mature as well, which I don't know if it fits it, but I will find. But the story, I find like there's some meat to it. So past the epilogue, there was one moment where these two, what do they call them? Like freaking almost like guardian forces. They call them something else there in the game. Chat, let me know. And they're like, oh, they have what's it called? It starts with Q or something. They have basically these super creatures like phoenixes, Elkins. That's it. Yeah, so like that element of it is really cool. They're like in Naruto, you've got those nine-tailed beasts. It's like every village had their own like what they call Jinchuruki. They have the same version of that in Final Fantasy. So I like that element of it. I don't like the British element of it, but I think it'll be interesting. I am starting to care about some of the characters, and that's a good sign. So it's early days. I'm going to play Final Fantasy. I question the combat. I think it's very simplistic. I want to see what PlayStation guys who actually have the testicular fortitude to tell the truth, like BG. So I want to see BG and his impressions of that game as well. But Fame, is this a game you're gonna play?
Probably not. We'll see. I don't. I mean, it looks good. I might jump on it. But you know, the crazy part about this is it's wild that the next Final Fantasy game would be an Xbox exclusive. Like, that's wild to me, right? If you think about it, you know, what was Starfield supposed to be? It was supposed to be a PS5 exclusive along with that.
We're going to talk about Tokyo.
That. And in every game, it seemed like that or franchises getting kept from Xbox. Xbox, like, you know what? You fucked around and you can find it out, and I'm buying you, right? So the next Final Fantasy game will be exclusive on Xbox.
Exactly how I was going to word it with the Starfield. They fuck around and find out.
Huh? Now think about it. You had Deathloop, Ghostwire Tokyo, both were there was a year's exclusivity on PS5, and then it's not. I mean, it's being brought back up in the news, but it's not new news that PlayStation wanted Starfield as exclusive. This was.
I mean, the rumor mill was suggesting that we got confirmation this time. That's the difference in court as well.
And then now the stuff are coming out about you know, Activision saying, "Hey, Microsoft, give us a bigger cut, or we're not going to ship it on Xbox." And Xbox is like, "You know what? I'll just buy you. Like you belong to me now." So now, since Final Fantasy is exclusive to PlayStation, and Square Enix been tripping, not want to bring Final Fantasy 7 over, Microsoft is going to buy their ass and just say, "You know what?"
They did come out and say they're interested in a Final Fantasy Call of Duty, like.
What?
Yes. They literally said that.
I mean, at this point, they could do that. It wouldn't surprise me because the combat is
exactly.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to get the mass appeal, but I don't think the combat is very early though. So, but it's not impressed me at all. It's not impressed me at all. Shout out, by the way, to Robbie and Edge. Welcome to the GameOnDaily family. I'm gonna make sure your stay here is incredible. Shout out, thank you so much, man. The support means a lot. Final Fantasy is just, I'm not trying to shit on it. It's just my genuine impression of it. I am intrigued enough to play that. And it might be the first one I actually complete before even Final Fantasy VIII, which says a lot. Performance-wise, it's not great. Even quality mode. The controls don't feel all that smooth. Combat doesn't feel great. Sounds like, guys, what is actually good? And really, it's the story. Voice acting is a bit wooden. It's all like, "Oh, King Bartholomew," and I'm like, some actors are better than others. Not really feeling it, but very early on, I feel like there's more to it than I'm seeing the reviews. Like, well, maybe there is something there. So let's see. Shout out to Max City with a $5 super chat. It was a wild week. Shout out to the homie Post Up 100 Final Fantasy 16. No color, no play. Yeah, I'm tired of Square Enix with this bullshit. Baron talking Jigabo. 15 Final Fantasy 16. I hope it dies. What does that mean?
Back City is.
I don't know if he meant bow. I think he meant another word maybe. Unless I'm tripping. You don't want to read.
I'm not getting that.
Yeah.
What does he made me say? What does that mean?
I'll tell you after the show. What?
Okay.
But Max City tweaking right there. Go ahead.
Is it?
I'll tell you. We'll talk about it after.
Okay. Shout out to Shabs with a £10 super chat. Happy Cooper birthday, Isla McGonad. Koopo poo. Is that the noise it makes? I don't remember anything like that. Hit that like button. Sorry, Asa. Koopo.
Outrageous. I thought we banned him.
Thank you, Shabs, for that. So we talk about gameplay changing. Then I saw shout out to 600 people plus 630 in the chat. Hit the like button. One thing I saw, and this is really, to me, sounds like PlayStation guys really coping with Starfield. And they went on and on about these two revelatory negatives for this game. One is the fact that, which I don't give a shit about, but apparently it's a big deal. Mm-hmm. No land vehicles in the game, so you can't go drive around on the planet, which I'm like, okay. Because when I go to a foreign planet, I think the terrain is going to be definitely one where I can just drive my Mako around, like in Mass Effect. That went well. And then the other one was that 100 planets, about 100 planets in Starfield out of 1,000 have life in them. And I was like, oh, they're all barren, empty planets. And I'm like, no, that's a good thing. Yes. I don't want to procedurally generate bullshit, crappy AI or mobs or anything meaninglessly. Bro, in the history of our humankind, we still haven't managed to find one planet with life out there.
I was thinking the same thing.
And these guys are crying about 1,000 planets with 1,000 lives. Like, that would have meant that it was just procedurally generated for the shit of it. That there was no thought behind it. It's like that Goldilocks principle. When you finally enter that planet, it is then a special moment when you do come across some life. 100 planets a lot. Now, how does that work in terms of pacing? Like, your limited time in game, is it going to be a bit of a stretch that most of the time you keep encountering barren planets where it's just resource hogging? That might not be great. But if it's balanced out right and you do encounter planets with life in them, that's the way it should be. What do you think about that, Posto? Are you worried about not being able to drive on planet Zero Alpha Centauri X?
No. I like the fact that it's not going to be life on every planet. I like the fact that they're making it somewhat scarce. Meaning that you will have to literally get deep into the game and go to different solar systems to find the life, whether opposed to having life on. What's the point of having life on 1,000 planets? You know how much writing and backstory you'll need for all that? Yeah. And then it wouldn't make the exploration part in terms of looking for the life, it wouldn't be no fun in it, because you could go to any planet and find somebody.
That's a great point.
Exactly.
You might get players who actually go around exploring, trying to find all the different types of life and taking pictures and stuff like that as well. I can definitely see that happening.
In terms of the vehicle, I'm not worried about that. You got the backpack that can jetpack. Got different levels of gravity. You got the jetpack that'll get you fast. I think it's modifiable and upgradable and things like that. Whatever this game don't have, the mod community will make sure it have.
That's a great point.
You go look at but there's a pass in terms of Skyrim and all that. The mod community is incredible. It is deep. They are going to do things with Starfield that probably Howard and them didn't have the time to do. They're going to take this game to a whole nother level, and I think that's good. So you get a nice foundation for the gamers, and then you let the community go wild with their imagination in terms of the things they can add to it. Win-win as far as I'm
absolutely.
Concerned.
No, absolutely, you're right. Absolutely. Yeah.
As long as those mods will be playable on the console version, right? Because otherwise, a good portion of it would be left out of it, right? So as long as it's allowed on console version, that's a W.
Yeah, I think like Fallout 4's got mods on Xbox.
On console, yeah.
Not equivalent to the PC version, though. But that's still an open question, because now that Bethesda are part of Microsoft, like in theory they'd have a bit more leverage to make that stuff happen. Yeah, it's limited what you can and can't change on the console version. On PC they can do anything and everything more.
That's a good conversation to have, though.
Mm-hmm.
Will in this generation the console get that type of, access that the PC have? That's I didn't know that. I thought it was the same. I didn't know that.
PC, console guys are not happy with the manner in which things that the treatments happen. Because this week, I know I didn't have it in my topic list, but now I remember because of all this FTC bullshit. We got some negative news on Xbox. Microsoft is now seeking to raise the price of its consoles as well as raise the price. And this is a big one. Yeah. Game Pass. Finally, it happens. The thing that they held the line on the price for a very long time. And now that line has broken. Game Pass is granted it's like $1 or $2 increase, but it starts now. And from now on, you can see that like the thing is broken. A lot of people thought they will stay there. I don't know why people thought. We said this repeatedly on the show. Like, what makes you think this sub-service is so special that it will have a static price for ages? Like, it makes no sense. Like, even Microsoft was saying, "Oh, Microsoft can just say that they'll keep they will promise in perpetuity to keep the Game Pass price the same to appease regulators." I'm like, that's never going to happen. It's so stupid to say that, to suggest that, and even attempt to do that because, market forces or whatever. But as far as an excuse is concerned for this happening, I don't think Microsoft have a valid excuse. They may have been making, Sony did it last year. The cost of everything is increasing. My attitude is Microsoft should swallow the cost. Feels like we're paying more for a console that just seems weaker. And it goes for the PlayStation as well. I mean, 720p is a bit laughable for a game like Final Fantasy that doesn't look all that next gen, barring some.
We can only do this on the PS5. Yeah, 720p.
Yeah, I mean, that's bullshit. And then Xbox is the worst culprit there as far as power is concerned. But that isn't that great, Post-Up. Like, what do you think about the price hike for Game Pass and the console price increasing?
I think it was inevitable. Phil said this back in, I think it was August or October when he did that. What was that interview with Bloomberg where he said at some point they would have to raise the price? It was with that lady. I forgot what lady was interviewing him, but he did say at some point they would have to raise the price. But right now they was cool. I think this was strategic of them doing it before the Activision acquisition because during this case that was one of the
CNBC interview in September 2022. Yeah,
that was one of the points against them saying, look, if they get Activision, they're going to raise the price on Game Pass and then consoles and this and that, and it's going to be bad for the consumers. Well, they did it before, and it's similar to them when they transitioned their first-party games to $70 games, which was strategic as well, since Activision games is already at $70, and you can't have your Xbox games at $60 and Activision at $70 and all that stuff. But I mean, I look at it like this. It was inevitable. It's $1, $2 increase. It doesn't really hurt my pockets. I just want to see after what everything completes with this whole deal and stuff like that, that increase is represented by value and quality of the content that you're gonna put into the service. Now the hardware, I don't understand why the hardware is increasing when you've been saying that you've been having issues manufacturing systems. Then you also said your systems is not selling as well as the PlayStation and Nintendo, and yet you're increasing the price there. I mean, you're not doing it in the United States, but you're doing it everywhere else.
The countries that are not getting the price hike are US, Japan, Chile, Brazil, and Colombia. Those last two countries I will need to visit because you know what I mean. But we all know what we mean. But it's getting a price increase everywhere else. You got £480, up 6.6% in the UK. 549 euros, up 10% in Europe. $800, Australia up 6%, and up 8.3% in Canada. Wow. Canada seems to get screwed all the time. I swear to God, Canadians love getting screwed.
Taxed. They
be getting bad for Hugger.
Bruh, they be getting.
Oh, Hugger's from Canada? Yeah, I feel bad for her.
Yeah, she lives in Canada. I feel bad for her, man. She be talking about those prices up there. But listen, who got $1? Who got it?
I got $1. I got $1.
$1. In terms of Game Pass,
it's at a
we're talking $1. $2 the most. And it's not lost on nobody that Microsoft or Phil Spencer came out and showed this whole schmeat and gave us all them games. And then the next week was like, yeah, I'm going to charge you an extra $1 for this. Starfield getting ready to drop. Yeah, you're going to have to pay an extra $1.
Let's take advantage of that.
A lot of people aren't paying $7 for games. So where they get revenue from? Don't have to raise the price. It was inevitable, but it's $1.
Yeah.
If anyone runs with this, but then if anyone runs with this, but defended $70 games, your hypocrisy is showing, right? It's showing.
That's a good point.
In fact, it's $1, $2 if you got Ultimate. It's not a big deal. Our hobby is expensive, folks. I'm sorry. There's no way you're going to come out of this unscathed, whether you buy games, rent games, look at games, play games, tweet about games, YouTube games. It comes at a price, right? And if we want more, we want to continue to get more, we're going to have to pay for it. And Phil was like, yo, who got $1? And I got $1. So I'm going to go ahead and pay my little $1 because I like the service.
You want that big double or you want that Game Pass?
McDonald's ain't even $1 no more. McDonald's got a whole $2 with nothing that's $1.
They got rid of the $1.
As the head of the Fat Guy Coalition, I know this. They got $1 million for $1. It's crazy.
Big dude coalition in the building right now. Let me tell you.
Yes, sir.
Let me tell you something. I'm waiting on that family plan too. That Game Pass family plan.
Yeah,
that's gonna help too. But they've been holding the line. What? How long has Game Pass been out? What? 7, 8, 9 years?
Yeah, they've held it for a while.
They held it for a while, right? And
but it's a slippery slope, man. They can go from now on. You expect it to rise, man, because that whole notion of it being.
You're saying this is just the first of many increases to come.
I think it happens with all services. Look at Netflix. Look at everything. Look at Amazon. Every sub-service that I'm sub to has increased in price. My gym membership has increased like 10 times.
Max, HBO, Netflix, all that has increased. Amazon Prime.
It's a bit of a piss take.
Wasn't it like 3 weeks ago that they told us Game Pass was profitable?
Yeah. They did. This profitable and they're increasing the price. Yeah. So it's more of a shitty move. And we said
what's better than profit? What's better than profit?
More profit.
Yeah, but but that's the corporation. We don't really give a. I mean, we have to think as consumers here, and I feel like it's a bit of a piss take because now we're finally getting good games, and then before we've even got them, they're like price increase.
They seen that
Starfield. They've been sitting there. They've been going, "Hey, this FTC thing's going really well. We might actually be buying Activision Blizzard in a few days. Can you just check your pockets? Has anyone got $70 billion?"
Oh shit!
They see the reaction to the Starfield, like, yo, we need a little tools and fuels, man. I think we can get an extra $2 about these people.
I mean, chat is saying that it's not as big a price hike they were expecting. It's only $1, and that's true. Master Sit, thank you with the $2 super chat. Goes, great show, keep it. Xbox, thank you for that. And also, we've got Robbie, who is now a member. Thank you for the £2 super chat. Goes, £2 more is no big deal. I'd pay £5 more if I had to. And he paid £2 just to say that, to give you a little bit of perspective.
Now if they came out and said, hey, Game Pass going off $5 today, they'll feel we got an effing problem, bro.
Yeah, we got to watch people like him.
They doing too much.
They use people like him as an excuse to raise prices. We got to watch him.
You
see what happened to the PlayStation? Yeah, we'll pay $80 or $100 for these games. Tony said, what?
Please don't do that.
$70?
Please don't do that. I mean, it's still incredible value for money because this year we've already played Hi-Fi Rush. We're going to play Starfield. We're going to play Forza. And you can play other third-party games as well. So it's not touchable.
And my tweak, I'm looking at the chat. Somebody said no increase on PC Game Pass. Game Pass went up in general. He's
right. Rodimus is right. There was no price hike on PC. That's the piss take.
Oh, well, Phil, you can suck. Listen, no, sir. We're not doing that.
And guess what?
He's doing it, man.
That's what
PC's not getting it.
That's what Game Pass right now is seeing its biggest growth. That's in a PC space. Like they doing numbers right now in the PC space. That's why they said they expect to do $1 billion on a PC alone.
Yeah,
and they didn't get. I don't know, man.
No,
the PC
they're growing it. Let's understand that. But
shit. The PC always Man, we always get
Well,
custom players always get
console gamers are getting treated pretty shitless. But
I feel so badly. What were the games with gold this month? You got two games with gold. PC couldn't subscribe to Xbox Live Gold. They're all crying for it. We're like, let us have whatever game came out this month from Xbox Live Gold.
Yeah, man. Like PC gamers don't tolerate bullshit. That's why they get what they want. Whereas Xbox console gamers we get screwed, and that's not cool, man. Yeah. Gold is still so antiquated, man. Like to pay to play online, it's not that great, man.
PC community said
second class citizens assemble. Yeah, man. Like it's a bit for a weird
there's no
one.
excuse for it because the base Game Pass doesn't come with gold. It's just you have to pay for gold if you got this basic Game Pass. There is no legitimate excuse to raise the price on console and not on PC. Yeah, and I'm not advocating for PC to get a price increase because I'm not advocating for anybody to have to pay more for something we're already getting right now. But it's bull. And I'm sorry, as much as I get down with Phil, ever since he made this, remember when Street Fighter 5 went exclusive and he said, and there was something online about him making up for it. He is yet to make up for that. And as an Xbox console user, I don't feel special. I don't feel I'm getting at least the equal treatment from my $500 console than I do on my PC, right? Yeah, it's not equal across the board, right? And again, I'm not advocating PC users to pay more. I'm just saying if you're gonna raise the price, raise it everywhere, or don't raise it at all.
Yeah.
Free multiplayer, no Game Pass. Increase. Games are cheaper on PC than PC, man.
I mean, it's harder. It's maybe more expensive buy-in, but it's definitely becoming more and more of an enticing prospect for a lot of people. And this mid-gen stuff, like with Starfield, even at 30, which doesn't bother me. But shout out to these controllers, man. They're so nice.
Listen,
everyone's got these now. They look sick.
I got two of them. Top tier.
You got two of them. They look so nice.
One I can play with, and one I can play with, and one that stays in the box.
Oh, is it? Okay. I don't blame you. I haven't actually played with this because it's so nice. I don't want to.
Elite right there. I ain't got my controller yet. I'm just going to put that to the side. Controllers look fire though. I ain't gonna need cap. They look fire.
Nice, they do look nice. They do look very nice. And I'm not a fan of white hardware anyway. But this kind of sticks out from my heart studio. But it's such a nice controller, man. It just kind of seems really nice. It's just
I didn't realize that the supposed to. I saw Special Nick from Xbox era say that once you hook it up, you get the background on your Xbox. It comes from the background. You have to just connect the controller to your Xbox.
Oh, that's quite clever.
I thought that was neat.
I didn't know that.
That's dope.
Didn't know that.
So you have to get the controller in order to get the background.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
fine.
Once you plug it in, I haven't looked at it yet, but once you plug it in, it automatically downloads your Xbox.
That's wicked.
Start doing that more often.
Yeah, that's quite cool.
Background,
almost like an amiibo.
Profile pic and all that stuff,
The background looks lame, says KO. I haven't seen it. I didn't even know that. But that's pretty cool. This whole thing, though, I was going to say the next topic is Microsoft, apparently. Digital Foundry said this, so I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Microsoft considers the Series X as a mid-gen refresh, said the guys at Digital Foundry. Now, with rumor mill suggesting quite strongly that the PlayStation will get a mid-gen upgrade, it may be a situation where Microsoft, this generation, touting power, gets obliterated on the power department by virtue of not even having a mid-gen refresh because the Series X is considered one. What's your take on that? Do you believe that?
Do I believe that Microsoft had that conversation with Digital Foundry? Yes. Do I believe that people are running with it as a bigger story than it is? Yes.
Yeah,
it's like a fairly normal conversation. If you look at at that point in time, Microsoft were releasing two consoles with different power profiles at the same time, and in some regards, you could say that's like having a base level console and a pro level console, and that's all Microsoft are saying. They're not. It's not like a commitment not to release anything mid-gen. I don't think Microsoft are particularly subscribed to the model of generations anymore. They don't need to be. They've built their whole ecosystem around being able to deliver new consoles whenever they want and still play the same games forwards and backwards. They are well equipped to do that, which is why I used to say prior to everything going wrong, prior to COVID, prior to like the price of these things going up so much, I thought Microsoft were the more likely to have a shorter generation because they can transition quite seamlessly. And this goes all the way back to the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, where those generations lasted for like 8 years. And Sony and Microsoft both sat there going, well, we've got 80 million players using this console. It's really long in the tooth. It's dated and it's struggling. But if we release a new console, it's got 0 players on it. And both of them like hard pivoted away from that strategy, went onto their x86 architecture so that they could avoid that generational shift in future. And Microsoft just did it very, very well. Sony are still a little bit stuck in like little ruts between their console generations. They still very much have them. They can release a Pro model. It's usually like, you know how they did it in the last generation. They can repeat that behavior. But for Microsoft, their whole generational dynamic is not the same anymore. Then what happened? COVID happened. Prices have gone up. The Series X has just had a price increase, and that strategy doesn't lend itself to releasing the console like a shorter generational cycle anymore, because it would have to be very expensive to be better than the Series X. But I don't think there was anything wrong with what they said at the point that they were launching the consoles in terms of just having two different specs available to the consumer. That's all it was.
Okay, fair enough. And do you think, I know you basically suggested that, you know, they can deliver a further mid-gen refresh. Do you think it's actually on the cards for Microsoft?
No, because of the pricing. I think they were positioned to be able to. I kind of expected this to be maybe a 4-year generation or something like that. I thought that would be the cadence that they shot for. But just based on guesswork and the fact that they can, because Microsoft can release a console and it doesn't hurt their install base in the way that generations used to. So they could quite happily release more. There could be a new Xbox and they wouldn't be struggling to support the previous generation in any way for a long time. So it's much smoother to transition, so they can do it whenever they want. But you have to look at the thing that I don't understand about the proposed PlayStation 5 Pro is you look at what AMD are capable of delivering at what prices, and I can't see a hardware spec that makes a lot of sense to hit like a console price point from what they can deliver. So it's a bit of a weird one in that sense, but we'll see.
Well, the price point, Sony have been pretty loose. You can see them being the Apple
They've
of
never been loose.
console.
No, so until Sony, this is why I didn't like the PlayStation 4 Pro, because it was labeled as like a premium Pro Elite level console, but they targeted the standard console price point. They released it at the same price as the PlayStation 4, just like 2 or 3 years later. And they aimed for that price for the PlayStation 5, but markets were a little bit difficult. And it's very unlikely that they're aiming for a different price with the Pro. They're going to have to if they want to release one, because they also had to increase the price of their hardware. So, but it's not. They're not fast and loose. Sony are not going to, or they've not intended to release an expensive console since the PlayStation 3 because that bit them in the arse. They don't see success over a certain price point, and they stick to what they know. So, we'll see. I can't call what they're doing, and I'm not denying all of the leaks and rumors around there being a Pro. They're very likely true. So there is something around, but I'm struggling to see how they deliver it, what it is, how it fits, what AMD can actually do for them at a decent price point.
Fame, what do you think about the prospect of a mid-gen console based on what everything Asa said? And would you be interested in one, a Series X or whatever the hell it's called, mid-gen or PS5 one?
You know, I understand, you know, with the Starfield being 30 FPS, stuff like that. I get that. But that to the side, you notice we never really get the all of the juice out of the console to the end of the generation. And then at the beginning of the next generation, everyone is like, there's no difference. I mean, if you really think about how the PS4 Pro and Xbox Series X ended, right? The only main difference between then and now is we talking the SSD speeds, stuff like quick resume and stuff like that. But as far as, oh my God, this looks absolutely phenomenal. We can't see games like this from last generation. Yeah, we kind of can, right? So don't sell me on something and you haven't fully figured out how to fully maximize what's out now, right? And then in terms of Microsoft and their generations, the Series X being a mid-gen refresh, it makes sense because when you bought the Series X, again, it still played the same games, still played the same controller. The games looked pretty much the same. There was no major difference when the two consoles first came out. The only big difference is they added a button to the controller. They had a SSD in it, which made the games load faster. But there wasn't like this big graphical jump, right? So I don't care for mid-gen refreshes because you still never got the maximum out of the 500 I have now, and it takes a while into the generation. So if they give us something else new now, it's going to take them 2-3 years before we get anything that
Maybe
says,
the
you know
next
what?
generation.
This harnesses the power. Then we go to the next generation.
Well, I get the point, and I agree with you about harnessing. I mean, I don't think we've actually seen anything remotely close to the kind of power we should be seeing in these consoles. I don't know, but a mid-gen console will, at the very base level, and the expectation is that at least it will hit your 60 FPS a lot more. Starfield may hit 60 on a Series whatever Z console. Final Fantasy 16 will run at 60 FPS at more than 720p resolution in combat. I know it's not fixed at that, but it goes as low as
is that worth another $500?
I think people will pay for it. I think people will pay more than that. I actually saw on the point of price point, and Asa was saying that they do hold the line and quite strict with the price. I think they can afford to be loose. I think there'll be a sizable market this time.
This is what I was saying for the reason I'm disappointed by the Pro is because it's got this Pro moniker, it's got this premium label. So I do agree. I think there is a market for like spending more money on a console, because PCs, you can get unlimited power on a PC, but there is something to be said for the console experience. I use the PC a lot, and it is not plain sailing. There are things that go wrong. So I think there are people that would be enthusiastic enough to buy a premium, powerful experience for console. It's a niche market.
Yeah.
But it being a niche market means it's very difficult to place it next to a console and really show off that value. So it really would be skimming the top of a market. I'm not sure the appetite's there, but I'd like to see it.
I'd like to see it as well. What about you, Post Up? I know you say Fame was saying that you don't really get to rinse the power of these consoles or realize them until the end of their generations. But would you be interested in buying a Series Z or PlayStation 5 Pro?
Well, I've been vocal about this in terms of not even needing a.
You're not even needing a mid-gen? You don't think it's redundant? Let me do a poll then.
I think COVID kind of changed the frequency on that. It put everything behind in terms of game development and things like that. I think it might even, I know they're talking about the next generation may start in 2028, but I think this generation might get extended a bit. You got to think both manufacturers are coming out of the gate having issues with manufacturing and getting enough systems out. Seems like Sony then kind of caught the rhythm on that. Microsoft is kind of stuck in the roto and trying to clean things up. And I still think we're getting games that are built off last generation tech, last generation engines and things like that. And these new consoles got so many new features with RDNA 2 and all of that stuff. I don't even think developers have even fully tapped into these features to even maximize. We don't even know how many. The only engine we probably know right now is Unreal Engine 5 in terms of third party that's actually built for, these current gen systems. But how many proprietary engines out there, even in respective of first party or even third party, how many of these proprietary engines had transitioned into this new hardware cycle, right?
See, Unreal Engine 5 is a very good point that you mentioned there. I think Unreal Engine 5 is going to, the adoption is so widespread across so many different studios. CD Projekt Red are wholly now just migrating to that. Even bloody first party 343 are rumored to be migrating to it. And because it's hear cheaper. It's cheaper. The tools and the Unreal Engine 5 looks very impressive. But you've got the likes of Digital Foundry saying that if it's an Unreal Engine 5 game, expect a lot of games to run at 30. And I think console gamers seem to have now had an appetite. They've had a taste of 60 FPS to the point where they demand it as standard.
I think the Unreal Engine Gods Coalition going to change that about that 30 frames per second comment.
Yeah.
Because even that tech demo that they showed, they said with a few more optimization, they could have got that tech demo running at 60, and that they was working with Epic to get Unreal Engine really optimized on the Series X. All I'm saying is this, and I do agree with my bro Level One. I want to see what these consoles can do. Right.
Yeah.
And even if you look at the games that was recent, a lot of that is last generation games that's just being. I want to, and even in Microsoft perspective, since they're not since Sony is the market leader, I can pretty much assume that they're the number one system in terms of it starts there and then trickle over to the Nintendo and the Microsoft console. So it's going to take Microsoft first party to really make the Series X scene in terms of the 12 T-flops of power that people say. In third party is not going to want to use all of those features that Microsoft has, because PlayStation consoles, since they're the market leader, they're the main priority. So you start there and then trickle everything over to Xbox. So this is going to primarily fall on Xbox. They're going to have to really show us what this console can do. I'm not ready to spend another $500 on some new hardware, and the one I just got ain't done nothing yet.
That's a fair point.
Even by first party, we haven't seen nothing from first party that says what Microsoft says in terms of it eat monsters for breakfast. I'm still waiting to see that breakfast.
If you want to keep it a buck, I do think there will be more 30 FPS games. Don't get me wrong, but. When we're looking at Starfield and we're hearing the reasons why it's 30 FPS, right? Yeah. There are not going to be very many more games. I might set that wrong. There won't be that many more games this generation that's going to be on the scope of Starfield. Oh yeah, that's why I'm not worried about a bunch of games being 30, right? The scope of this game is so massively ridiculous,
and
right?
That was choice.
And they had to do something to keep it stable on console. I don't see that happening too much more this generation, so I don't see that being that many more 30 FPS games. We were like, man, I got to spend $500 to get 60 FPS. I think 60 FPS is still going to be the staple for this gen. It's just we ran into a monster.
We do this every generation, though. Every generation. We look at these hardware specs and we go, oh, we finna get 60 now. And then the more power you give developers, the more graphic intensive they want the game. And then they get the sacrifice of frame rate. Say, we want this cinematic experience. Here go 30 again. But you're like, but here go 30. Here go 30. We do this every generation, bro. Every generation.
That's so true, but and they've always said it. Like people keep using this Aaron Greenberg tweet where he said, like they'll be the base, but in the same time, he also said it's still obviously up to the developers. In this case, you've had it very clearly. Todd Howard has had an affinity with the 30. He said that they're gonna. It was their choice to keep it 30 because without global illumination on a console, it may not look all that great. Starfield, and I agree with you, Fame. Starfield, to use that as any indication that all of Microsoft's first party or even other games will remain at 30, I think is a bit foolish because of the reasons. Precisely what you said.
Starfield can I address this? Because I'm looking at the chat, right, and people are saying, "Well, explain Redfall." It's simple. Even the developers didn't even want to work on Redfall. They wanted to trash their game. But before it came out, they wanted that game. That is as simple as the developers not doing anything, because there's no reason why Redfall should have been 30. It should have been 60, and we're giving you 60 later. It's not a secret no more. Even the developers wanted Microsoft to cancel the game. So that's telling you they're not putting their all into a game. So of course you end up with, and that's why I said there's going to be 30. There's still going to be 30 games, because you're going to get stuff like developers not putting their heart or not putting their work into it. So of course it's going to be end up 30 with 60 later, because the developers didn't even want to make the game. They wanted
the game. Performance is one thing. AI, they didn't want to do it. Text is not loaded.
It was bad.
Game mission structure. Everything was wrong with that game. Everything.
Money spent. We're going to get what we can off of it and move on. That's all you can do. That's all you can do, man. But gamers do have to understand this. At some point, it's not going to come down to the platform in terms of its capabilities. Some developers are just going to make a choice. We just feel this game. they're gonna choose 30, not because the hardware is not capable of it. It's because it is a development choice for them. Whether you buy the game or not, that's up to you. But 30 and 60 is a choice. Some games and the way they built are brand perfect for different frame rates. And in this case, Howard said, look, every object's being tracked. You're in global luminization, which is a form of ray tracing. You got all this stuff going on, man. We can't get y'all to 60.
Yeah, I mean, with Starfield, it's a whole different beast.
Yeah,
I don't, and I see Serve in the chat says the Coalition. Watch out for the Coalition's next year's game, because I think that will blow people away based on. And
it's going to be 4K 60.
I think have they talked about? I think Jess has talked about it publicly now. That game is going to blow people away. Games Lord with a €2 super chat. PlayStation 2 lasted 13 years, longer perhaps in Japan. That was a unique gen as well. Yeah. Face, shout out to you with a $2 super chat. He goes, if PlayStation 5 Pro comes out, it will be $600, he says. Okay. That's a decent price. Nintendo the Otaku with a $5 super chat. Next gen doesn't magically make devs better than they were. We haven't seen a next gen game as impressive as Tears of the Kingdom that runs on a tablet. Cap? He's capping there. Tears of the Kingdom is good for it running on the Switch, but is it? And I will say, like, some of the verticality and jumping in, the seamless like loading is amazing. You don't even see ridiculous pop-up, but it still looks like Breath of the Wild. But it is impressive. I don't think it's like we haven't seen a next gen game as impressive as
I've seen.
Tears
There's
of
been
Kingdom.
Conversations around where people are like developers are very impressed by certain features within the physics and stuff that's going on in Tears of the Kingdom. Certain mechanics that they're like, wow, that's actually really hard to execute. It's not so much what it's extracting from the hardware, like technical prowess in that sense, but it is like just some very creative code running there. So I get that that's where that's coming from, but it still looks like a shitty indie game to me.
Damn.
Not that indie games are shitty, don't get me wrong.
What? Yo!
Somebody clip it.
Nintendo is not gonna like that. He's not gonna like that at all. Roshan Eppinger. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name correctly there. Sorry, Roshan. With a $2 super chat. We don't have a full 40, 90, and 5,000 is coming anyway. PC development is different, Roshan, man. You're gonna get these big beast graphics cards, but they're not always gonna do the things that like PCs like very, very different.
Didn't they have issues with cyber with the cyber joint? Cyberpunk 2077? Yeah, them big powerful GPUs was having issues running Cyberpunk at one point, wasn't it?
At the time when it launched, exactly. That was different. Like even Acer's Beast PC wasn't, but now it can run path tracing. So it's the same. You're right. Yeah. So it's like people think like you could just magically buy these, like the PC crowd. Go play look how badly some of these ports run. PC community is always complaining about being shafted. So it's just the nature of the beast, really. There's no magic answer there. But obviously, the more you spend, then you'll most likely get a better experience, but it's not foolproof. Now, Ace is going to love this chat. We're kind of veering towards the FTC chat.
The FTC chat about the 60 frame stuff. That's fine. Carry on.
What 60 frame stuff?
You're in a big conversation about what's going to be on console, then it's fine. It's fine. Carry on.
I don't know. FTC, I don't even remember the conversation.
8K. This is fine.
What's the 60 FPS?
No, call him out. Shame the devil, Acer. Shame the devil.
So there was a conversation about what we can expect going forwards. All right, we're going to get more 30 frames per second games on the consoles, or is 60 going to remain the standard and all the rest of it? We're definitely going to get more 30 frames per second games because that's how counting works. You can't get less by releasing more over time. So there's going to be some other ones that are 30. The number's going to go up. There is an element of choice. Developers can clearly choose what they focus on and what's important to their gaming experience. And I think what's really like you get all this conversation between like nerds that really care about frame rates and things and people that just want to chill out and play games. So if you look at some of the biggest games on the market, Call of Duty, Fortnite, that kind of thing, they hard prioritize 60 frames per second because normal people might not know why they appreciate the feel of this game, but they appreciate the feel of this game for how smooth and responsive it is. Call of Duty has been 60 frames per second for a very long time. They ran at like Call of Duty Ghost was like 720p on the Xbox because frame rate was really important in that scenario. And if you consider how broad the appeal of those games is, most sports games like your FIFAs and probably Maddens, I assume, 60 frames per second, it is not going away. It is important to a massive array of people. At the same time, you've got studios like Insomniac and Bethesda who are looking at their games with expert eyes, like knowing exactly what they're doing and saying that they actually quite like those experiences to be delivered at 30. And Spider-Man's going to support higher frame rates, but the default mode when you fire that game up is 30. The trailers that they showed are 30. There are very experienced people that do like that as a direction and think that they can deliver a playable game in that sense. So it's like, of course there's still going to be 30 frames games. There's still going to be decisions to be made. There's still going to be optimization, but 60 is not going anywhere this generation. There will be big games launching with that responsive gameplay focus.
Yeah, he put that beautifully.
That was very beautifully put, as always. And that's a great point about the fact that the masses who do play COD, who do play FIFA, may not actually outwardly be aware of the 60 FPS versus 30 FPS debate, but subconsciously they appreciate and associate the smoothness of that experience with those titles, not knowing that it's because it's 60 is so nice for them. But that's a good point. Shout out Shabs with the £2 super chat. He goes, Asa loves the FTC versus Microsoft. Kupo. Shout out to Ace23 Brooklyn, New York with a $20 super chat. He goes, do you guys doubt if Spider-Man 2 was PS5 only, it would have a performance mode? No, sorry. Do you guys doubt if Spider-Man 2, which is for PS5 only, will have a performance mode? No, I think we all
fully expect it to have the same modes. Yeah, we'll have the same modes as Miles Morales and Spider-Man Remastered. You have performance. You'll have the performance ray tracing. You'll have the fidelity mode. Fidelity is going to be the default. Insomniac have
it's the same game
us what they
face.
Like. Pretty much. It's swinging through the same city.
FPS mode.
It's DLC. No, it's not. But it's. I mean, come on. Like
we just opened up another part of the city, though. All talk Cade with the $2 super chat. Imagine if Microsoft has no mid-gen console, but Sony does. That would be a fat L. Microsoft cannot afford to have that situation. I don't think they can, especially how much they tap power. And Xbox content creators talking power. Made that comment said they'll never lose the power, narrative again.
Oh, so.
Remember that. He said they'll never lose the power narrative again. So I don't know how that's going to work out. Because if Sony come out, and it depends
on... they're losing right now, in my opinion. But
that's debatable.
I mean, it's a little bit dynamic, but it's not definitive where it should be. But, all talk is right. Like, but the questioning... But that's a good point. I remember that quote now.
Yeah, he said they'll never lose the power narrative. So I don't know how that's going to play out. And if that happens, if Sony come out with a mid-gen joint and Microsoft stay with the Series X, they're going to go digging for that comment.
Nah.
Oh, man, they're going to be memes everywhere. You know how Twitter is. People going to go crazy.
I reckon you will get the PS5 Pro, and a year later you'll get the next, just like the Series 1X. I reckon that could happen. But if Microsoft weren't planning on doing one, they should be working on one. I think that's a bad look. Now, listen,
they can go ahead and drop the PS5 Pro, and then Microsoft owns Activision, and they don't send them a copy, or they don't send them a dev kit. Then COD on PS5 Pro, and it's on damn fault.
We'll talk about what you're alluding to there.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. We're
jumping into it now. We're jumping into it now. Fame's got his background ready to get into this talk about the FTC versus. Now, I know we don't like FTC, well, a lot of people don't like FTC chat, but this isn't one of those this is a big moment generally in the gaming space, like Post Up you suggested, or you said early in the show. We don't get to look behind the glass on a lot of these things. And we're now getting to peer into the dirty side of the politics in the gaming console space. And I just want to say this point. Like for ages, and we have some, and I won't mention the names of these content creators who are very passive, and they're like, and they always go, kumbaya, kumbaya. But the reality isn't like, oh no, Phil Spencer took a picture with, Jim Ryan. They're all actually really friends in the community. Nah.
Phil is a killer.
Phil is angry. Phil is vexed. These companies don't like each other.
He don't show up publicly, but this whole process, we've been getting to see a side of him. Like, he been, and it's crazy because we often wonder since he doesn't join the console war or anything like that. So it's kind of us making an assumption on how he feels towards what PlayStation do and don't do. And he really don't make any public comments on that. But in this trial, he talking. He letting it all out. I'm like, what?
Bro, it's a culmination of things, man. Like having shat on the Game Showcase Award, Sony sticking its oars and trying to kill this deal that has caused him so much stress, which he's admitted. No, there's a breaking point even good Phil Spencer cannot tolerate. And now we're seeing just how bitter animosity that's normally not alien in trade in markets like this, where you have two competing, giants in the space. A lot is riding on it, including jobs, including the livelihood, including reputational damage, and there's so much here. And the console warrior in me just loves seeing this bitter argument, and it's coming to a point where PlayStation versus Xbox has never been this bitter. So, but there's also great news as well. Now, let me read Nintendo on the Otaku Super Chat before we move on, because he says Physics Engine. Thank you for the $10 Super Chat. He goes, this is for you, Asa. He goes, Physics Engine being able to phase through any ceiling with no bugs, reversing time on any moving object, fusing items, weapons. No next-gen game is matching this mechanically until Starfield. And I don't know if there's a mechanical... I mean, it's a quite interesting point. But is it purely like technical prowess? I don't think so. I don't know.
I'm not sure about clipping through ceilings. I think I could do that in Sonic 2 on the Mega Drive with a little cheat code. Or no clip, you can go through the ceilings, that's fine. But in terms of what Starfield is doing, yes, it's ambitious, it's grand, it's systems on systems on systems with objects everywhere. I said in chat a minute ago, my Starfield is going to run at, it's going to dip to about 3 frames per second because I am going to sow chaos everywhere. And people talk about it being locked 30 frames per second. That does not mean you can't make it go lower. You can definitely, it's not going to be locked there. I'm going to tank that frame rate. And I'm talking about the PC version.
I will as well. Yeah, exactly. And, console guys, Xbox guys, it's not going to be stable 30 anyway. I'm not expecting a fixed 30. The games world is so large and dynamic with its physics-based stuff. Expect
they'll hit it for normal gameplay. Like normal gameplay, you'll be able to get that going, but you just have so much freedom and flexibility to do what you want. You can gather all those sandwiches and pots and things, and you can explode them. You can bring everything into one location. You can probably leash the NPCs and bring them all into a building. You will be able to tank that frame rate if you want to, because it's a Bethesda game. So.
We don't get to do that often in games. It's so good to have that kind of game design. Shout out to 666, that ominous number in the chat though. Hit that like button if you're enjoying the source. Jay Rembert with a $10 super chat. People forget
Jay, that's my guy.
Yeah, I've seen Jay here as well. Shout out Jay. He goes, people forget the FTC is supposed to protect the US consumers. Remind me if Sony is an American company or not. The FTC sounded like Sony's lawyers yesterday. Post up, I saw a lot of people coming at you saying, how dare you? You say this is an American company and you're being
they call me
xenophobic.
racist,
Come on, man. Why you hating?
Look, I wasn't
outside
even,
the U.S.
When I made that tweet, I wasn't even thinking about no nationalism, no none of that.
I know, it's so obvious.
And it's crazy because a couple of months back in the Senate committee hearing, they questioned Lena Khan about foreign interests, protecting foreign interests and foreign entities and stuff. Didn't nobody call the senators racist when they was checking Lena Khan about it, but they go get on the Twitter and call me a xenophobe, racist, and all type of stuff over the term foreign entity. What are we doing here, guys? What is going on?
No, man. At least it wasn't like Kid Smooth calling her the Yops, man. You were just
Man.
I said what I said based off what I was hearing in the trial, right?
Yeah.
That's why I made that because the FTC wasn't there about competition. It wasn't there about the American consumers, about the market.
They barely mentioned those words.
They didn't mention any of that. They solely was there as a representative for Sony, who is a company with foreign interests, right? And the reason why I made that comment is because if you look at the Chinese market and you look at the Japan market, they both are back and taken care of and given incentives and protected by their government.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? American companies get incentive from their government, but they don't have the level of protection that Chinese and Japanese companies get from their government. So, you know, and then then they're able to come, and I'm not saying they hasn't been rich, but those foreign companies with foreign interests are able to come into America with free roam, free will to do whatever they want, right? But then it's stipulations when we go over into their, like you can't, like Phil said, you can't buy a Chinese company.
Yeah, you can't.
You know what I'm saying? And even if you go over there to do business, you have to go through a proxy.
Yeah,
that's why Activision had to go through to make that deal with what's the name? You know, what's that? It's already in.
That's it.
NetEase. Yeah, that's why they had them. That's NetEase was a proxy for Activision to do business in China. And I don't know how that worked in Japan. And I'm not saying I'm an expert on this. I'm just saying if you're gonna try to block this deal, block it on merits, right?
Yeah.
Block it on the things that matter in terms of what you're supposed to be doing as a regulator. The last 2 days have been Sony. So they even tried to negotiate deals for Sony yesterday in court.
Yo, that was a bit like, whose lawyers are you? Are you Sony's lawyers? And that's why I made it wasn't nothing racist about it. I wasn't even. Of course,
I'm not in the house with an American flag top out. Get those
America.
Yeah.
Tell them, folks, you love Mia Khalifa. Tell them.
I'm not doing that. All I'm saying is that I'm just looking at the optics. That's all. And right now, a regulator, American company, it don't matter where the competition is. If it's American company versus, and you there to make sure there's balance and that is competitiveness, then do that. But don't get in the courtroom and then turn the whole defense supporting man. Bro,
do it.
Y'all got me messed up, bro.
Because you're losing in the case. No.
Yeah, and you're still losing, but you're sitting up here, Sony this, and you ain't said nothing about a consumer. You ain't said nothing about a customer. You ain't said nothing about a gamer. You ain't even said the word gamer or customer or consumer. Nothing. All you did, Sony, but Sony. No Nintendo.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
It's crazy.
We said it on this show. I said it before, like right off the bat of the CMA murking the ABK deal. I said FTC will be shit. They will lose. I said this when the deal looked like it got cancelled, because I know we've seen the FTC's track record. We've seen Lena Khan's track record. Yeah. Nothing suggested that these guys would be as competent. CMA at least are very thorough. The FTC, if you heard it, everyone heard it. Like, even like, you know, if you're not even a mergers and acquisitions lawyer, you're just listening to counsel for them, just coming out, and then we'll talk about some of these as well. But Harry Balls with the $5 super chat. Breaking news: FTC will recall Phil back to the stand, and they just hired Paris from Kind of Funny Games to re-question. It didn't work out well for him during Kind of Funny Games. But yeah, there's a quip there about freestyle. Well, I'm not going to make that joke. But yeah, one thing we will say. What we didn't expect was this, and I'm intrigued about this. Indiana Jones, somehow in this hearing, we find out is an Xbox exclusive or console exclusive. Why on earth did we find out this way? Why on earth did Microsoft not announce this at the game showcase event?
I think it was going to be a big announcement, and the court just messed it up. And I'm on one hand, I'm kind of good. On the other hand,
it was part of the bundle, though. It was part of the exhibits in their bundle, so I think they would have expected that topic to have come up. There was no reason.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the reason why Microsoft didn't say anything about it, because I think it was going to be shown later down the line at one of their events. And that the fact that it was going to be exclusive was going to be a big announcement, because everybody assumed that since it was a Disney IP that it was going to be multi-plat, and the court just took it away from us.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to find out.
Yeah,
can we say? And I'm to be honest, I'm happy. I'm glad it is. It should be. If you own a studio and you got a chance to make a game exclusive, make it exclusive, right? It's the same, like you said, same reason why Spider-Man is exclusive to PlayStation. But doesn't it kind of wipe away the whole, you know, we will honor existing deals? Because we're hearing that there was a deal in place to go on PS5. It was like, nah, we're changing that, and this is going to be exclusive to Xbox, and you guys are going to like it.
So what happened?
Does it kind of watch that whole we're going to honor existing deals? Does it kind of like go away at this point? Like, and everything's possible now?
It depends. It depends, because they've gone out and done it. That wasn't exclusive to PlayStation. That was a game where in their hearing they said that Disney had raised, I think, some concerns, or they'd intimated that because of the reach, they would have liked it to be on PlayStation, and Microsoft as a result decided no. Whether or not the existing contract, we haven't seen, but the suggestion, I think, is they
redid the deal. Like they made a whole new deal, which indicates that the original deal was it was going to be Machines Game was going to make it on multiple consoles, and they went back and was like, hey, you know, we're owned by Microsoft now. Let's make a new deal.
No, this what happened.
So that contract was no longer honored.
This what happened. It was going to be across multiple platforms.
Okay,
right? That was the original deal, right? But that multi-platform deal didn't include Game Pass. So Phil went back to the table, told what's the name to go back to the table with Disney, because he wanted to include Indiana Jones in Game Pass. When Game Pass came into the deal, they had to restructure the contract, and through that restructuring, that's when Phil and them negotiated it to cut out everybody and to just make it Xbox and PC. And one of the reasons for that was that it's more easier to focus on specific systems than trying to create across multiple platforms. You have deadlines, especially when you're dealing with IP or license from other companies. You have deadlines to hit, and so it'll be easier to hit the deadline with just the Xbox and PC versus those multi-platforms. Then he also brought up the fact, and I guess they came to Disney with this too. Look, Spider-Man 2 is exclusive for PlayStation 5. We need the same for Indiana Jones.
He mentioned that.
You know what I'm saying? And he mentioned that. He's like, why do we have to give this game to PlayStation when they already got one of your licensed IP and it's exclusive to their system? So, you know,
like you said, you fuck around, you find out. And Sony was doing that rawly, invited them to not only take away Indiana Jones,
But they say Phil don't got this in him though.
No, listen, we've entered the Xbox villain arc. We've entered the Xbox villain arc, and I'm here for
Phil.
And the reason I learned a lot these last 2 days, right? And what I learned is that financially, the Xbox was in a very peculiar situation, giving the market power of Nintendo and PlayStation, right? And it was in a situation where the business model was not sustainable. And I'm not talking about Game Pass. I'm talking about the default market where you just buy to play games. They was losing heavily in that market. And then you have a new CEO, Nadalia, coming in and say, look, I am a very profit driven person. We need this particular business model to perform. If not, we're going to get rid of it. Right. And that's pretty much Nadalia. And we knew from the beginning that Nadalia wasn't really hooked on gaming. So I don't think he has no problem getting rid of Xbox if it's not performing. So Phil had to do something, getting cooked in the console sales, right? Sony's leading you in the market. So developers, not only is Sony leveraging their market power against you, but the third party's developer is leveraging Sony market power against you. Because now when you go try to get an exclusive from them, they're going to charge you more than they will charge Sony because of them having the market. So you're losing. You're paying more, but you're not recouping. So you're losing. So Phil had to get in. So Phil had to look. Studio. Exactly. I ain't finna, and I'm not finna go agreement with you. I'm not finna go third party. Look, we
buy the whole thing.
We're gonna buy the whole damn thing. We're gonna buy the whole slate. Now, what that does in terms of Activision puts Xbox, because like you said, Xbox is struggling right now in terms of the numbers. But once they get Activision, all that changes. In terms of the profit margins, right? You're going to start seeing the margins that old girl and Nadalia want to see. Now, from there, you know what I'm saying? Now you're able to move into mobile and things like that.
Mobile is a big
but you can tell the frustration. Like, he didn't really show it, but Phil is frustrated at the way PlayStation is doing bit. And I'll be pissed too. You mean to tell me you're going to charge me double to get this exclusive? Just because So you getting handled both ways. You getting handled by PlayStation and developers, and you spending more. You're selling less consoles, and you're probably not getting a return on that investment, or either even it out, or even making a profit on it. So something had to give. Let's stop buying these exclusives. We for ZeniMax, come on. You finna make what exclusive? If you get Starfield exclusive and we don't agree with Activision about that split, and they get Call of Duty, we out the gaming industry.
Yeah.
Xbox would have been no more if Sony would have got COD exclusive and they would have got it would have been all right.
Nobody say Final Fantasy, Spider-Man. That would have been everything. It would have been a wrap. About Xbox, bro. It would have been
exactly.
Get them up out of there. You bleed money too? Oh no, y'all up out here. Y'all got to go.
Absolutely,
smoking that Xbox pack easily.
Sony been consolidating for ages. Look at every game we're talking about. Sony attempted. So with this part of the hearing, we found out that they did attempt to keep Starfield exclusive on PlayStation. And it was Deathloop. They said they saw what they did with Deathloop and Ghostwire. I'm like, okay. With these little ones, that was the warning sign that triggered them. Like, all right, no, that's
and that's
enough.
where Dark Field come in. Okay,
it's like
you want to keep playing with us. Okay, okay. I got to go.
He was like,
give me the go. You feel me? You gonna give me the go time?
And he chose that one. And it's just like.
I'm telling you, you see, Phil been in Japan a lot, and Square Enix over here playing games.
Yeah,
they next. Oh,
yeah.
Bet.
Yeah, you want to make something?
I'm gonna buy your ass and see how much you like.
I think that was in
necessity,
and I think that what and it needed to happen. You know why? Because Microsoft needed to steal the fear of God in Sony. Right? Now, ZeniMax deal, Sony didn't say nothing. Right? 7.5 billion, 8 billion. Huh. We good. We ain't worried about Bethesda again. Then they can't 69. What 70? You buying who? Yeah, we not playing no more.
Yeah.
We not playing no more. The $1 trillion. You finna see us exercise our rights to our riches. You didn't play with us for too long. And guess what?
Yes.
Guess what? After they brought ZeniMax, the board member said, "Who next?" Then they went out to Activision. Then in over the last 2 days, they said they're not done. Even at the Activision,
They're not done.
Y'all didn't poke the wrong bear. It's over. And Sony know they ain't got the money to compete with Microsoft.
I mean, Sony are doing a very good job with their comparatively middling funding, but they have the key thing is Microsoft has the appetite, and it's frustrating for a lot of the PlayStation guys and for Sony to see on display Microsoft is aggressively backing this deal, which would have been different if the European Commission had not done it. You would have seen this deal fall apart. Yeah. But now they are all in on this deal. And we're also getting to see the kind of things that I've been asking or hoping Microsoft was doing. So now we've got this aggression. Yeah. Indiana Jones, you made a good point there, Fame. I'll kind of lead to you, Asa, on that. Honoring pre-existing contractual obligations. It looks like Indiana Jones was subject to that. Post-up suggests that, or informs us that it was the Game Pass angle that allowed a revision or an opportunity to revise this contract, and then later on, Microsoft completely cut out PlayStation from the picture.
Yes, they should.
But do you think that's contradictory, Asa?
It depends on. So the controversial part of that would be if ZeniMax specifically had any kind of contract with Sony to release the game on that platform. Publishing doesn't necessarily have a very locked-in contract. So they've obviously not reneged on a contract with Disney because they've renegotiated and Disney are fine with it. Did they have a contract with Sony just to publish the game? It's probably not the same thing as honoring a contract where they have got marketing rights for the other games, Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo. So I don't think that's a massive problem. I've not been following this news closely at all from the outside whatsoever. From what I have seen, I've not seen the FTC making any very compelling arguments, and I'm surprised because there are some really easy, compelling arguments that they're just like, we don't know what the fuck's going on. Have you got a Windows key or something like that? What are you doing? So, yeah, but yeah, go on.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what you just explained is what Phil Spencer explained in court. The way you just angled that in terms of the publishing and the deal with. He explained it exactly the way you was just saying.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So you're on point, even though you ain't been paying attention.
I'm not paying much attention, but for me, I would have thought, and I don't know how the case law works in the US and all the rest of it, but I would have thought getting a preliminary injunction, which is just a pause, would be a really low bar, and actually they'd have quite an easy time winning this case, because this is just saying put a pause on this so we can figure out the legalities of it properly, and they're just going in speaking nonsense as far as I can tell. Give me a call, I'll help you out. I don't care if the deal goes through or not, but they should be talking about DirectX is a big thing in the deal. If they're talking about the cloud contracts and all the things like that, they should be picking apart the deals that they've got with cloud providers, saying which one of those doesn't run on Windows and DirectX, which one of these cloud providers is running on a different API, and then they should be questioning IdTech and saying, hey IdTech, you're long-time proponents and supporters of OpenGL and Vulkan. Are you still going to be supporting those APIs now that you've been bought? Or are Microsoft really taking a controlling stake over what APIs used to deliver games in all circumstances? Is this a concern? You could probably get a preliminary injunction on these grounds because that is a low bar. And they just don't seem to know what they're talking about. And I don't care. My main interest in the deal, Activision I've never liked. I don't like Activision. I don't like Call of Duty. Candy Crush I don't like. I don't care. I've had a long time history of really liking Blizzard, but I'm not so sure about them anymore. I don't know what's best for them, being acquired or not. So I'm quite happy to just sit there and see how things play out. But I look at this from the outside and I'm like, what are you doing? This should be easy.
Hey, we don't have to mute Asa. FTC might be. You have to mute Asa. FTC
Because don't give them ideas, Asa.
FTC might be listening. We're going to have to mute them.
They're really not.
Chat is saying mute Asa. Lena can't taking notes.
He did, in that few minutes, he did a better job than that.
Yeah, he did. I mean, even the manner in which some of the ways they approached. So, wait, let me read this. There was the audible oof that was heard upon it. Basically, this is so weird. Where's it gone? I had it retweeted. I suggested that J-Dub was the FTC's lawyer here. Check out this line of questioning. FTC. So this ABK deal would take you out of third place in the market, right? Phil Spencer goes, that's not our goal. We want to expand into mobile. So it's a write-off. Phil goes, what do you mean? He goes, your business is a write-off. Phil goes, I don't get what you're saying. Let's move on. I was like, what the fuck is this? What are you doing? What are we doing here? What do you mean? Are you lying? Yeah, you fucking like, fuck off. It's like, ew, what are we doing here? Like, I could hear it like in the manner in which FTC were like, I mean, fucking, these guys are not that well equipped.
They thought Fallout 76 was fourth.
The Fallout 76 was Forza? You started laughing. Your whole set is coming back. Post up your distraction.
What he said.
I missed that bit. Did you say Forza? They thought Fallout 76 was Forza.
They thought Fallout 76.
So never make fun of the CMA again, because they were comparatively well equipped and knowledgeable.
And let's not be lost the fact that Google made an appearance and embarrassed themselves. Google should have just set this one out, bro. Google came and I forgot
that was the FTC witness. That was the FTC witness.
And embarrassed themselves to the point the judge was like, all right, I get it. You know, let's go ahead and wrap it up because this guy's an asshole. He's the head of the division, doesn't know anything, but then knows some stuff, but knows not an absolute fucking thing. It was hilarious.
Well, at least he came. Well, he did two things that the FTC probably didn't want him to do. They probably wanted him to blame xCloud or Microsoft for
killing
Stadia,
mm-hmm.
which he didn't do. He said it was the lack of content. That's one. AAA content. That's one.
Yeah.
Number two, he wasn't supposed to say Stadia competed with PlayStation and Xbox because now you just removed the argument not only of the FTC but the CMA that cloud is a separate market. And the Microsoft lawyer got him to say that multiple times to the point where the judge was like, okay, we get it. I understand what you're doing. Yeah, I understand. We got you. You know what I'm saying? And so that was clutch. And I think the performance that Microsoft is putting on is doing two things, right? It is nullifying all of the FTC's argument, which they have bad, terrible, weak arguments, but it's setting the lawyers up in the UK in terms of the CMA appeal. It's setting them up very well because now
I see that's the thing. Like I was talking to Colt about this, and I still because it's a fixed process in the UK. If FTC is failing here, I'll be very surprised. I'll be shocked. You never know. Like we never.
I didn't know it was going to be this bad though.
But I knew it was going to be bad. I'm not that surprised actually with the FTC.
Okay,
but I'm still trying to figure out what the angle in the UK is. I cannot, and I'll still maintain, I cannot see how one jurisdiction, the UK, that can curtail the entirety of this deal that is getting approval everywhere, especially after the US. If FTC lose, which I'm expecting, but you never know, but I'm expecting the FTC to lose, You're
the
saying,
UK won't matter because Microsoft just they've already told you pretty much that we're prepared to
take the penalties on that.
Depending on
we're prepared to do this without the UK, and we'll maybe UK gamers just don't get Call of Duty, whatever that looks like. But they want the FTC because the FTC is home. They got the EU. They got 2 of the big 3.
They got 3.
Once
right?
they get the
they got 3
FTC
of the
done,
big 4.
then it's a whole different ball game.
3 of the big 4. So if they are not going to let this deal die because of the CMA. So to me, whatever happens here, this is the end of it, because the CMA part is going to be irrelevant because they're going to complete this deal with or without the CMA.
The deal with the CMA is that they're trying to police beyond their district, their jurisdiction. They're trying to police the world. They're trying to say this deal is blocked globally, not just in the UK. That's going to be an issue. Number one, the tribunal just moved the appeal days from 5 days to 6 days, and he probably did that based off what he's seeing here. What's going on with the FTC? I do think Microsoft has a strong argument now that Google has come out and confirmed, which is huge, that cloud is not a separate market, which is one of the arguments that the CMA is working on. If the FTC lose this case, right, depending on when Microsoft is able to close, there is a possibility that the CMA don't even get to the appeal. They might just try to work something out because the final order is not. The final order hasn't been put in. It's just in draft form. And so go ahead. Go ahead, guys.
No, sorry. I'm interrupting you there. That's exactly what I was saying to Colt on the way to home. I was just saying, if this goes through, because this is such an unprecedented case, and because it's coming from a region that primarily concerns Microsoft, FTC, this deal, I think the avenue is that in unprecedented fashion, the CMA will have to strike a dialogue. In which case it decides that it will entertain in the guise of entertaining these new incentives. I feel like that.
I don't necessarily. I'm not sure that is unprecedented. I think the CMA are able to bring something back and get that remittance from CAT or whatever. What I will say, a lot of people say that if the FTC goes away, and whatever it may be, I think political pressure may play a part in the UK. What I don't see happening is there's a lot of talk that Microsoft will close anyway and ignore the UK and take the fines and all the rest of it. But you're kind of advocating for a corporation that's above the law at that point, because they do. It's not Xbox, it's Microsoft. It's Microsoft operating in the UK and saying the law doesn't apply to us. We're a big corporation, so fuck you, UK. Which might sound plausible. I get UK is tiny, but Microsoft have global partners with contacts and contracts in the UK, and it is a very complicated situation. So Microsoft saying, we know that the court has said we can't do this, but we're doing it anyway because we don't really care about your laws. That would be freaking huge. And it's not as simple as people seem to think.
No, that point, I don't see that angle. You have to have the CMA. You have to entertain that notion. But I think that does involve exactly what Post-Up you've said, is that the way I see it is the CMA, because I think Luke Steele, shout out to him, mentioned that they are open to having that dialogue. You can have that within the framework, and a deal like this that has, and the regulators immediately, the CMA responded when the EU made their judgment. When the US does it, if the US, they lose, if you're the CMA, you'd look frankly kind of almost bitter and negligent in completely shutting out any kind of conversation. Now it's way bigger than you. Now you're being seen as not only as the outlier in a world primarily has approved it. You are the outlier. You're also being stubborn and not even having a dynamic conversation about it.
See, I agree with both of y'all. I agree with Asa. Microsoft is walking a very thin line. Microsoft have to think about future acquisitions. Okay. They are not fitted. They might threaten to close over the CMA. Yeah, they did that because they forced the FTC into federal court. Job done. You got them in front of a federal court. You got them where you want them. They're not for to close over the UK.
Yeah.
They rather go through that appeal process than because that tidal waves is not. You're telling, if you're saying that to the UK, then what are the other regulators are going to think?
Yeah,
but I don't think. I don't think it wouldn't be Microsoft just. Well, we're going to just do it anyway. It would be ABK, Call of Duty, Diablo. All of these games just won't be in the UK. Like, yeah, you're right. We're not.
They can't do that though. That would still be breaking the law in the UK. Like they don't have that option to do unilaterally.
That's almost like a behavioral remedy that they've kind of fashioned themselves and decided to, like, we will do that. Otherwise, people can just fashion things like that and treat themselves as the arbiters and deciding, well, we have fashioned this behavioral remedy, we are executing it, and we think it's fine. We're like, otherwise, it'll be fucking Wild West out there.
The CMA has
but like everyone else says though, like Post and Gaz and Fang, you've all said that the pressure on the CMA to find a remedy would be immense if they are the only one standing against it. So
I agree with that too.
Personally, where I would see it going, and I'm not saying that with any expertise in the field whatsoever. That's just like that seems to be the direction that it would take. But
but even the experts, from Hoaglaw to Luke, everyone is saying this. I mean, this is an unprecedented deal. Like, of a scale of this size.
Even the tribunal said it.
Yeah.
The tribunal said it. They said, we're not going to do this like we usually do because this is something new. So that's one of the reasons why they kind of fast tracked. The tribunal was like, we can't do this the way we do other cases and things like that. We got to treat this different because this is something new. The CMA has a drafting order. It's a final the final order is in draft. Right. Yeah. And right now, Microsoft, ABK, third-party companies, and whoever are able to submit feedback on that final order. So the final order hasn't been put in play yet. So since it's still in draft form, there's still opportunity for Microsoft to do something in terms of negotiation. Now, if they get the FTC off the board and they close, that is a question of when, not if. When. Given the way it's going, though, and how it's happening, the CMA is not going to want to look the way the FTC is looking right now.
Especially they won't, because the FTC look especially just inept is the word, and I'm thankful for their ineptitude, which I'm also not surprised about. Shout out to Luke Steele in the chat. Marcus Goodwin is an absolute blind Xbot, so apologies for his bullshit. Marcus, shut the fuck up. Autarcade with a $2 super chat hits the fact. FTC's trials the FTC trial had better announcement than the Sony showcase. In fact, it did. We got Indiana Jones confirmed. We know PlayStation tried with stuff. PlayStation's tried basically doing everything that people cry about, consolidation across the board with all these first parties, scarily so, rapidly aggressive. Phil Spencer said that even for games that they released that on PlayStation, their first party, whatever money that PlayStation made, they used against them. What? Wait, so
that is
a fucking crazy point.
And they got over 50 games on PlayStation.
But they said they use the revenue.
Sorry. What? When I hear that, I'm like, so what? So, I mean, they're just using their money. I didn't understand. I don't understand the big. Somebody, I may be ignorant to it, right? I don't understand the big deal for that. As far as we're using money that we made to make deals. That's what you do with the money you make, right? Isn't that not? That's not a. Doesn't Microsoft use the money they make to make other deals? Like, I mean, I don't understand.
It's weird to be that specific because Jim Ryan can be like, no, we used the money that I saved by not flying to court. That's how we got these things.
there's what? How many PlayStation games on Xbox? One,
MLB,
right?
Destiny and MLB.
Destiny, right?
Destiny and MLB.
Microsoft have, through acquisition and stuff, Microsoft have 50 games on PlayStation, and they get the 70-30 split. 50 games. Right?
Yeah. I've got the quote.
That's a lot of money.
Tom Warren's Twitter profile is actually really good for this. Phil Spencer, on the point of Starfield, he said, when we heard that Starfield was potentially also going to end up skipping Xbox, we can't be in a position as a third place console where we fall further behind on our content ownership. So we've had to secure content to remain viable in this business, which is what you were saying, Post Up. Like the viability was in question. And this is the point. This is the quote, Asa, this very specific point. This is a quote from Phil Spencer. He says, every time we ship a game on PlayStation, Sony captures 30% of the revenue that we do on their platform. And then they use that money amongst other revenue that they have to do things to try and reduce Xbox's survival on the market. I don't know how he knows how they're using that money. He's like, how does he know they specifically use that money to merge them?
He's saying, look, we paying them to get us up.
I think what he's trying is romanticizing it, but all he's basically saying there is they're very aggressive. That whatever money that they make, they don't let up. In their attempts at eliminating us out of the space.
Exactly. That's why he said it was a threat.
But
that's what he said it was a threat. He said it was a threat.
As they should. Just being honest. If I'm making some money, you're my competitor, and I want to outdo you. Yeah, if I'm making some money, I don't care where I got it from. I don't see no issue with that. I think
that to the FTC.
Absolutely. But tell it to the FTC
and the CMA.
Why does Phil Spencer have to breastfeed Sony?
Thank you.
And then Sony's out here fucking using the same milk to spit into an urn filled with poison and then bite on Phil Spencer's nipples the second time round and cause blood poison.
Sir.
I can't figure this.
Weirdest part is he's staring at something like he's reading this, and there's no freaking way.
I thought it was a super chat.
No, it wasn't a super chat. It was just a crack in my head.
He's definitely reading his fan fiction. Like.
Oh man. Okay. Well, another bit that came out of this was, if you wanted to know how much of a prick Bobby Kotick can be even as a businessman, or how ruthless, Activision refused to bring Call of Duty to Xbox at all unless Microsoft went beyond the 70-30 split. Aggressive.
We making enough money on PlayStation. Certain. We don't need you. Basically.
I'm almost certain. I could be wrong. They're probably asking, because it's come out, unless I'm going crazy, it's come out that PlayStation gives Activision a better cut. They don't get, it's not a 70-30, it's more likely 80-20 between PlayStation and Activision. I'm almost certain that Activision just saying, hey, you need to match it.
I think it's just part of negotiations.
Even though PlayStation's getting more because they're getting exclusive stuff, so they're making more money on it in the end. Activision's like, hey, we're doing 80-20 with Sony, and Sony can't afford to do it because most of the consoles on PlayStation, because they're getting the exclusive maps, they're getting exclusive skins. So they're leveraging that, saying, hey, they're doing 80-20. I want 80-20 too.
Just like every other developer.
So when this came up, who was point scoring with this fact? Was this in Microsoft's favor, or was this in the FTC's favor?
Well, the FTC let it slip. They've been letting a lot of redacted confidential information.
Oh yeah.
The reason I ask is because, to me, I think this was in, like, it was Microsoft's line of questioning. They were trying to show like how weak they are and how they need this because like this terrible thing has happened to us. But like this is something that the FTC should be latching onto, because what this tells you is that Call of Duty is massively significant and important. Like they have the power to bully the industry with this IP.
Yeah,
they didn't do it though. They
didn't. I think someone else actually said that.
Hey, so we're gonna need you to stop. You know,
Lena Khan is listening to
we're gonna need
everything.
You to stop, bro. We're gonna need you to stop, player. You know, that's
not even like, it's not even a massive point, and I'm surprised at how incompetent they seem to be with the arguments that I've heard, and I'm not following it closely. But I just look from the outside like,
you should actually hear them, even the pros.
Obvious points.
Yeah.
And if I'm Xbox and if I own Call of Duty, Activision Blizzard, when it's on PlayStation, I'm gonna tell them, hey, bro, deal still stands. It's 80-20. You're not getting 30%.
Yeah.
But see, that's the
It's gonna
issue.
be
That's the
80-20.
issue. That's the issue, right? That's why, this came up in the trial. That's why Jim Ryan hasn't signed the deal. He's trying to get an even better deal than what Activision is currently offering.
Yeah. And he's in the driving seat now.
Yeah.
Because he's played his cards right.
Yeah.
He's played his cards right. Well,
And once
to a
again,
certain degree.
he's leveraging the
Long term,
market
he's fine.
power. He's leveraging the market power and the success of Call of Duty on their system to try to get an even better deal than what Activision is offering. Even to the point where he's saying that then if Microsoft get Activision, they will not get any PS6 dev kits.
So that is another one that we found out where Sony. Asa, did you know about this point? That Phil, so Jim Ryan basically said that if the deal will go through, what is it? Sony won't share a new console with a studio owned by its rival, is basically what he's saying. It would withhold the PlayStation 6 if the Activision deal goes through because, secrecy and whatever. No. But Microsoft, I think, responded with that they did allow theirs, conversely, on the other side.
I don't want to piss on people's fun, but this wasn't an interesting quote to me because for me, it's a timing issue. If you're Sony and you've got something in research and development today, it's fairly likely that you would be pretty open with Activision to make sure that whatever features you're cooking are going to be fully leveraged for the launch of this new console well in advance. And you wouldn't. It's a tricky one because NDAs exist.
Microsoft did it with MLB.
Well, but they did, but that was pretty late in the day. Like everyone knew what the Series X was by the time that negotiation happened. You're talking early days when a console is, when you're talking about industry secrets, essentially. There is a point in time where you're researching a console and these are industry secrets that you wouldn't share with a competitor. But NDAs do exist. And one of the most disappointing things that I've seen in this whole deal is that Xbox did say that they would leave Activision running independently as a publisher after they acquire them, which is that took away a lot of my interest because I want to see changes for Blizzard. But like Bethesda. But for me, in that world, Sony could sign an NDA with the appropriate people at Activision after the acquisition and share whatever they want to, because NDAs are respected in business. They're taken very seriously. But besides that, the point that they're making, that they're not going to share their industry secrets with a competitor early doors, that makes sense. So what?
Generally,
but doesn't it kind of set up the whole? Remember, Sony's big argument was we don't want Xbox to have the opportunity to degrade PlayStation, the PlayStation version. PlayStation version needs to be looking the same, running the same as Xbox. So if you don't give me the damn console and Call of Duty come out this year, your version of Call of Duty will not be anything close to the Xbox. Sony can say, see, look. Microsoft, look, our version is 1080p, 30 FPS.
Well, Phil
can't have it both ways.
I told you.
Well, Phil pointed that out during the trial. Phil said, "Look, we want to put Call of Duty on PlayStation, but if Sony won't allow us, then that's pretty much on them." Sony did come out and elaborate that Activision had input on some of the specific features that the PlayStation 5 has. During the development of the hardware and stuff, that Activision had input on certain features. So I don't know. I think this is a bluff. I think this is Jim Ryan trying to maximize whatever he can to get as much out of Microsoft after this deal goes through, because we know COD is going to be there. And Phil did come out and say, just like Asa was saying, publishing deals and contracts with games on PlayStation, those are two different things. And Phil said, look, we are accustomed to shipping on PlayStation. We don't necessarily need a contract to put games there because we have delivered games there. But then he said in certain situations there would be contracts in place. Like if Sony wanted the game from Microsoft or anything like that, especially if it's going on like PlayStation Plus, they will have to come to Microsoft and then start negotiating that. Like Minecraft Legends, for instance, and they have to talk the numbers and things like that. Sony know Microsoft is for the tax for Call of Duty. They finna get, and they're trying to, but on the flip side of that, Microsoft did come out and say, even Lulu came out and said that Microsoft offered Sony a better deal than what Activision offers now. So I don't know what
you cannot blame Microsoft for not. Even freaking Warren Buffett was like, you have to give Microsoft props. They have tried for not lack of wanting to make this deal. They have been extremely open and not even resilient, but really forthcoming in trying to get a deal done. And Warren Buffett was someone who initially
he knows. He's on the board. With all the shares he owns.
Yeah, he knows his shit. I know, because the moment he said crypto was gonna die, I lost everything. So he was right. But yeah, it's a weird one. So we had that as well come out, and then we said, so we've also found out that Microsoft has already considered skipping PlayStation for other Activision content, which is fun, which is good. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that. Microsoft also considered making Minecraft Dungeons exclusive to PC and Xbox as well, but eventually shipped it. Microsoft also hasn't made a decision on Elden Ring, it says, and Outer Worlds 2 hasn't got a definitive answer yet. Exclusive. I think a lot of it is them being vague.
Exclusive.
It's exclusive.
I think so. I think so too. Look. He's getting away with as much as he can under oath. He was told to go on oath, and it was really fun listening to this part. Repeatedly, under oath, he testified. I testify. I think it was a bit loose in some of the wording as well, though. He testified it, but then they made the qualifier that if Sony is playing ball, but you have to talk about contractual clauses as well, notwithstanding some of the provisions there. But that he's not a lawyer there. You want to appreciate how broad his testimony was there and covenant to enter the deal. But it shows in earnest Microsoft, Phil Spencer, is not lying. If you had any doubts that they will honor the deal, COD will stay on.
Two things I want to talk about. A lot of this just tells me Xbox Phil been in survival mode.
Yeah. For
the brand. He's been in survival. We're actually getting a peek into it now. And the more and more they've broken down the Xbox business during this trial, he's been in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, of course you're going to have thoughts of Minecraft, one of the biggest IPs in your stable. With the reach it has to make it exclusive. Of course you thought, because you need to do everything you can in terms of profit margins, because Amy ain't playing. You have meetings with her every month. She want to know every single number, dime, 10-cent penny, where it's coming from. You didn't already said that, right? So if I'm in Phil's shoes, of course, I'm thinking, well, maybe we need to make Minecraft exclusive to bring some more people into our system so we can start generate profit. But no, what you do, you fall back and say, no, we're still gonna make it a multi-platform. One of the other things that we haven't got to, right? And this on Jim Ryan. I'm so mad that they made his deposition sealed. And get to hear what he said on that video.
What bitch! I wanted to hear him there stammering and lying. He's like liar. He couldn't be there.
And the reason why I think if Jim Ryan was on an oath in the deposition, right? So he swore to everything he was saying in the deposition. That's different than being under oath in a courtroom in front of a judge. He didn't want to get caught lying. He couldn't lie in front of a judge, right? Because the email, which we need to talk about.
Oh yeah, tell the chat about this email, please. Post up, introduce, because they won't know.
Okay,
perfect background from Fame on there as well.
Okay, so basically, in a nutshell, right? When on the day that the deal was announced, right, Jim Ryan pretty much came out and said that he wasn't worried about PlayStation not having COD. That they was going to continue to have it and that they'll be okay. He also said this acquisition was not about exclusivity. He said it's bigger than that. He said, I'm not happy that it's happening. You know what I'm saying? But we'll be okay. We'll be more than fine.
Because we've got good things cooking. That's what pretty much what you're saying.
We have good things cooking. And this is a conversation he was having with a former executive of PlayStation. This was an email conversation, right?
But what was he saying to regulators? Well, since Phil Spencer brought it up there, they only offered us this. Well, you lying piece of shit.
Well, that's the thing. Because months right after he said those things in that email, he gets ahead of Microsoft and hops on the plane and starts flying around the world and saying the opposite to regulators.
And Lulu Cheng, I just want to block your merger. But he's saying over there, and this is where remember when they said that that guy from Microsoft said that they're lying in Brussels and they're saying this stuff. And all of this points to that. This points to that email, unless you think it's doctored, is quite clear. It talks about, he says it, we're not worried. Like, we know they're going to make it because it makes no sense. If the judge is reading that, and that's coming from Sony, that console argument is an absolute shambles.
Shambles. The whole case is in shambles.
Well, the whole case is. I'm wondering. So what's happening next week? Can you just remind me? Because I've got my own life to lead. But I was listening to this at work while I was doing a legal report, and I'm like, this is interesting now. Even Asa, I think you'd have actually found it interesting.
Asa, you need to listen to, like, it
is not dry.
It's so much
I will tell you that, Asa. It is entertaining hearing the voice.
Got packed up.
It's so much stuff that we
got packed up for broadcasting it.
Yeah.
So
don't broadcast
YouTube channels that got packed up for broadcasting. That was why I was like, why are some of the YouTube channels broadcasting this? At the bottom it says not for rebroadcasting the download.
Yeah, you can't dumb
it said under article, this said do not do this, and that's federal. That's what federal. Look, I warned people. I made 2 tweets about it, and people were still broadcasting. Asa, you will, in terms of, it's not no fanboy. This is behind the scenes game industry stuff.
Yeah,
I think
I can do though. Post. I can sit here and play games and just get the juicy bits from you.
Well, you can do that too. But you can do that too. Well, you know what I'm saying? That's how you support. You support. I ain't mad at you.
That's why we value your input as well. On Twitter. We're getting your information from you. Definitely not getting it from Florian since he blocked me. Not that I want his information. But Jay Rembert with a $2 super chat. Will they put COD on Game? Wait till they put COD on Game Pass. # numbers.
That won't happen until after 2025.
After 2024. So 2020, 2025, 2026.
It's somewhere in 20. They said in a court 2025. People were thinking
because that PlayStation deal goes through next year, right?
Yeah, I think it goes. Yeah, but I don't know if they're talking about fiscal year when they saying it, but in the court case they brought up 2025 when they was talking about when PlayStation marketing agreement is over. I thought it was 2024, but in the court case they said something about 2025. This was from Microsoft, so I don't know, but it's. What we got coming up is Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, Tim Stewart, the CFO of gaming, Lori Wright, the corporate VP of Microsoft. They're going to testify. They're going to be on the stand. Then you got witnesses that Microsoft is calling. Liz Bailey, which is the vice president of Charles River Association. I don't know what that is. You got Dennis Carlton on the University of Chicago Economics. Amy Hood, the CFO of Microsoft. Bobby Kotick, Activision CEO. Steve Singer, Nintendo.
Lord of Hell.
Nintendo senior VP. He's finna get cross-examined. Armin Garza, Activision CFO. he's getting cross examined. Then
That's more gameplay than Final Fantasy 16.
NVIDIA VP, Vice President, GM of GeForce Now, he's gonna be there. NVIDIA Senior VP of GeForce, he's gonna be there. And then Dr. Robert Lee, who is the FTC economics from Harvard University. So I think the Bobby Kotick and the Satya Nadella cross examine by itself.
Yeah, that's gonna be beast. It's gonna be beast. That's gonna be. I think Bobby Kotick will fuck up. I think Satya will do a good job. It's gonna be beast.
Yeah, but
it's gonna be. Is Lulu? So did you mention Lulu?
No, Lulu.
I think that she's a bit too much of a Rottweiler. She said, "You stay away."
Wow.
And I think Lulu runs comms. I think she runs comms. She's VP of comms. So
Okay.
she's not gonna testify, but. Whew, and
So, by the way, shout out to Sarah Bond. So Pete Hines went before. Pete Hines seemed a little bit shaky. He wasn't that strong. He was okay. Overall, he was fine. But Sarah Bond was really good. She was almost. I think she actually convinced the judge to subscribe to Game Pass. She was
that lawyer look like an amateur.
Bro,
She was one of them lawyer in circles.
Yeah, I was impressed by that. I also didn't know her credentials. She goes, where did you start? Yale, and then Harvard, and then where did you work? I was like,
T-Mobile,
I was like, what? These are not minor roles.
Nasty.
Damn, man.
Her resume
Being that
nasty.
attractive and that intelligent, she's the next Phil Spencer.
Yeah.
Not saying that Phil Spencer is attractive or not attractive.
I'm of the belief that she's going to run Activision.
Okay.
When all of this said,
can you
and
imagine
done,
the optics of that? Bobby Kotick goes and she comes in.
And I think she's been getting prepped for it. That's why she's been side and side with Phil Spencer at every. I think she's getting prepped for, and the optics will fit. Because if you look,
definitely.
If you look at the
optics, definitely fit.
The board team that they set up for Activision on Microsoft website, it's more women than men on that board. And I think the optics will fit well in terms of what's been going on with the employees. So I don't know. I could be wrong. I think it'll be good.
I want some changes in Activision, and Bobby needs to go. And I would have a lot of faith. I think the optics would be incredible. And I don't think it's simple as optics as alone. I think there would be a discernible difference at Activision with Sarah Bond.
I think she'll do a great job too. I think she'll do
that's what I mean. Yeah, she'd be incredible there. I think she will definitely be really. I want to see her in a more senior position at Xbox. And I think that's a very good shout, by the way, post up on her taking over ABK. That could be very interesting. I've not heard that before.
I think that's what she's been getting prepped for. A lot of people thought it was to take Phil position, but I don't think Phil's going anywhere anytime soon.
No.
I think she's being prepped specifically for that role. Yeah, I think she's being prepped specifically for that role. I know I could be wrong, but I think it's a perfect match.
Yeah, and I'd definitely love to see her. By the way, the people who went there cult and everyone went to Game Showcase, they said Sarah Bond is just such a down to earth, just super chill person as well. Like she's like legit. They're really nice. Some others are not so nice. Not at Microsoft. I think he is okay with everyone at Microsoft. I think he's talking about other people, media people.
Like testimony was pretty shaky, but he ended strong.
That's not bad.
Pete Hines was the weakest. It
was more on the emotional level of PlayStation, I apologize. They played the clip with the GameSpot chap. And I was like, okay. I mean, that goes to it shows about your intention. But then he brought it back in that the advantage of making an exclusive just for Xbox and PC and then
I just didn't like the part where he was saying that he didn't understand why Bethesda games are exclusive and Activision games, certain Activision games will remain multi-plat. And I think that was his personal feelings on the matter. And I think the judge understood that just because it's his personal opinion, he's not in a position to make any decisions. So even his personal opinion didn't matter. But look, we're trying to win this deal, man. Look, man, go. Go somewhere else with that. I thought beehives. I'm just saying, but I respect it because it gave the opposite of angle of the deal in terms of, a person from Microsoft actually saying, "Look, I don't understand this. Why we got to make our games exclusive and why certain Activision games."
That's a good point, because what you don't want is a bunch of very, and I'm sure there's a lot of coaching going on that led to this appearance, as you always coach your witnesses, and absolutely. But that kind of stuff can't help, because it goes to show that there's a degree of sincerity when these guys are here.
Exactly.
So I think overall it helps on the basis, combined with the FTC's really poor line of questioning. Asa, do not talk publicly about anything anymore.
No tweets. No tweets.
I don't tweet. You're all right.
Yeah, Asa is the ops.
Asa is the ops.
We don't need Asa being called to the stand as a witness saying
that'd be fucking terrible. The deal would die.
Point, I think the FTC will pull it.
yeah.
But Sarah Bond, up until Phil Spencer took the stand, Sarah Bond, her testimony, how she handled it, the calmness, the way she elaborated on her answers to simplify it for the judge, where the judge didn't have to ask too many questions in terms of what she was talking about. And Phil did the same thing. Sarah Bond did an incredible job.
Yeah.
An incredible. And
I was very surprised.
Like Guy said, she damn near sold the judge.
Gave up.
Just like you what now? And it costs what?
Yeah, she was really good, and she was talking about what game is it? Plan of Lana as well. Like, it's a beautiful game. It's just like, there was a passion there. I don't think that was feigned. If she is feigning it, she's so good at acting, because I was like, I can't tell. There was that giddy kind of element of it. Some of it will be devised purposely.
I gotta get out of here early, guys.
Okay,
I gotta go pick up my lady from work. But I just wanted to make sure.
Get ready for court himself.
We're just about to wrap up. Are you able to stay in for the next 5 minutes?
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to let you
wrap it up.
You know how we get I can talk about this all day.
We can as well.
So much we missed too.
There is a lot. There's a lot there. But next week we'll have a whole new facet with this. Okay. So it'll be interesting. Dead Planet with a $5 super chat. It feels like we were entering an era where Sony focusing on gas feels like bad timing. Dead Planet, that's a good chat. While Xbox is about to have a massive slate of RPGs, single-player games coming. That's actually on point, Dead Planet. That's exactly what I'm thinking. They got late in the game. It feels like the gas is bad timing. And he's got a point there, I feel. I feel like, I'm not saying that it's too late. One good gas game and everyone will be talking about it. But I agree with you there, Dead Planet. That's pretty cool. Games Lord with a €2 super chat. Activision should ask for 90-10 compensation for the lower market. At this rate, they will ask for it. The bold bastards. Hoggy Channing, good to see you, bro. He goes, thank you for the super chat. He goes, we got another announcement at the FTC PI trial. Elder Scrolls 6 is 5 years out. Yeah, that's another one. Where Phil Spencer was saying like around about, was it Phil who said it? So basically,
the launch game for the new Xbox.
So it's saying somebody counted how many times the FTC said Sony at the hearing, versus how many times they said consumer. And they said 72 times they said Sony, and only said consumer 11 times.
Wow. And as it was happening, people were tweeting, they are not mentioning the word consumer, or even it was all based on, it's exactly what we were saying. That Lena Khan is literally out to protect. So it didn't need to be that way. It's not just because we're Xbox saying it. It's like, you're supposed to be an independent regulator. Why are you acting as counsel for Sony? It's not your job to help the market leader. Do you not understand? But don't think they have the facilities for that.
He tried to get, and the judge cut him off and told him to get out of there. He tried to get Phil Spencer to promise Diablo to PlayStation Cloud.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck's he doing with that? What are you doing? The guy did not know. Promising Diablo on PlayStation.
To put Diablo and other Activision games on PlayStation. What?
What the fuck?
He definitely got an alt account on Twitter.
I
He definitely has an alt account on Twitter.
He
He
definitely has a
literally
reset
asked
account.
Phil to promise that he will put Diablo and other Activision games on PlayStation Cloud from an FTC lawyer.
Yeah.
And the judge says, I don't really need that. Cut him off, told him to.
It's ridiculous. Is there a resetter or reuser there or a ponies? It's just mad. Timper, thank you so much for the $20 Canadian super chat. He goes, Phil Spencer said under oath, I will not be the one to break the exclusivity deal we make here today. Wait until Sarah Bond takes over. It will be the baptism of fire.
The judge did make Phil Spencer say under oath.
Yeah.
And she grilled him. I think she asked him 3 times. She said, you're under oath.
Yeah.
Do you commit to keeping Call of Duty on PlayStation? And he said it 3 times under oath. And when she said that and got that, I thought it was over right there. I thought she kind of, you know what I'm saying? And
There was a Spanish guy or some guy who was streaming it, and he was just like,
and he specified, he was like, because he was like, I know that, you know, out there in Twitter and in socials that people think I'm being sneaky with this. I'm talking about PlayStation now, previous PlayStation, and future iterations of PlayStation.
Yeah,
Call of Duty will be there. You know what I'm saying? He said it under oath. So
it's not even, it's obvious. It was obvious to the CMA. Like, as far as that deal was concerned, it's way beyond the console market. It is way beyond the console market. I'm mindful of the time, and we could have gone on for longer, but I just didn't.
The console market shrinking and why they going to mobile. But we can do that. When you want me to come, I'm gonna come and cook with you.
Thank you so much, everyone. We had just such a chill stream talking about it. Was even Ace enjoyed it. He didn't. He just pretends not to do it. But
I'm nearly there. Finishing line, like right at the end of the tunnel. So close.
I'm a DM Asa everything about.
Oh man, honestly, Asa, like I know, like if in the midst of life you're working from home and you can just play it, and it'll be very interesting to. I think I will challenge you not to find it interesting because in my opinion, it is very interesting. But these are special times. We'll look back at this, however it pans out, whether it goes through or not. I think it will go through. I've always maintained it will go through. Whether or not I'll have egg on my face.
We don't find out none of this stuff that's being released. And it is crazy.
We found it. This is just a glimpse into the industry, but it's a very rare one.
Yeah.
And we will savor and use this information for years to come. This is how unique a look it is into the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this show, please like, share, and subscribe, and do all that stuff if you're on Spotify and Google and all those streaming platforms. Thank you for listening, and review us if you can and wherever you can. I hope you had a great time. Before we do that, we have to say goodbye. Oh man, in no particular order, Fame, I hope you had a good time.
Man. I did. I appreciate the second invite. I can't wait to do this again. Before we go, I want to say, somebody tell Cole Eastwood, quit ducking my DMs.
Cole, you piece of shit.
I see you in the chat. Quit ducking my DMs, Cole. Quit ducking me. Quit ducking me. But yeah, Asa, you're the ops, but you're a real one. I appreciate you.
Damn.
Post, you're my boy. And Gas, thank you again for the invite, man. I do a show every Wednesday, WSP Podcast, 6 p.m. Central Time. We be having guests and shit, and it's real black, but we be having fun, so come check it out.
It's a good show. And shout out to Isla for linking Fame stuff, and then check it out, people. Post up
Appreciate it.
as well. I hope you had a good time as well, bro. Tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah. Always a pleasure. You know what I'm saying? Rocking out with you, Asa, and my bro.
Oh, thank you.
Number one gaming, man. And like I said, anytime, man, you can catch me on Saturdays, State of Gaming, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. And you can follow me on Twitter, postup_SOG. I stay up with all the FTC gaming news and stuff like that. That's regarding this case. And, you know, whether it goes through or not, I'm there 10 toes down till the wheels fall off. So we're going to see how it play out. You feel me?
Oh.
When the CMA block, they say, stop talking about it. I start tweeting more. Here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Good.
Always a pleasure rocking out with y'all. Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you for coming on, man. It was an absolute pleasure for us as well. Asa, should we do a quick sign out as the gents are going?
Really quick, yeah. Fight me on Street Fighter tomorrow, you cowards. That's all I got.
Yeah, and ponies, don't worry. I'll play Final Fantasy. I'll watch Final Fantasy a little bit more, and I'll give you my updated thoughts. Thank you so much, everyone. Hit the like button, and we'll see you very soon. Take care. Peace.
Looking at you, Colt.